What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Pigskins Pinfalls. I am your host, Dick Burns. I'm fumbling over my words today.
I'm Bobby Boomerang, and I'm not.
And we are here to talk to you everything about words. Wow, what is happening today?
Off to a hot start today,
We are
guys.
off great. We are here to talk to you about all the hottest news in pro wrestling and football. Everything from franchise tag moves to the Muscle Man dance returning. What'd you come up with?
Yeah, we're gonna talk everything from Dan Snyder's fraud to Money in the Bank selling out abroad.
Good calls, good calls. Yeah, I that Dan Snyder news, I saw that when you put it in while I was walking the dog earlier, and I was just like, oh shit, what the hell?
Nothing surprises me about Dan Snyder anymore.
Really
Literally,
doesn't.
absolutely.
Yeah. How's your week, man?
Week was good. Week was good. Met up with the realtor, went and looked at a couple places. Gonna get the ball rolling on that here soon, and yeah. Other than that, just work, saving up money. The daily grind struggle that all of us have to live.
No, I
How
feel
about you?
that.
I saw you had a pretty awesome thing happen to you over the past week.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows about my car wreck the other week, unfortunately. But some good came out of that. I got my new car, so finally have like a nice, good, big boy car that I can actually start moving things around. I remember how so back in the day, a little bit behind the scenes. Anytime, everyone always has those moments where like you got to move like a heavy thing, like a couch or a table or something, and it's just like, do we know anybody with a truck?
Don't call Rich because he doesn't.
Exactly. It was always me with my tiny little Civic. You couldn't do it.
Yep.
It used to be
Or even
you.
before that,
It used to
the
be you when you had
BMW.
your truck.
Yes.
And that used to be like the go to. It's like, hey, we got to move something big. Bobby, you got the truck available? Let's go.
Yep.
But no, now I
Even
actually like.
before the Civic, when you had the BMW.
What's that?
Even before the Civic, when you had the BMW, you weren't helping anybody with that.
Let's just not move any beds this time soon.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
That's a story for another time.
That's a good story.
It's a great story. Yeah, it was actually a pretty slow news week, though, if we're gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, and with us starting so late last week, we don't even really have anything to cover from Tuesday other than NXT.
True, but at the same time, we do have quite a bit of news that already popped out this morning from the combine. So when we get to that, we'll get to that. Yeah. So let's talk NXT real quick. I mean, there was not a lot of notes. I'm gonna be honest. Even like we are on the road to WrestleMania, and a lot of these builds are feeling a little bit weak.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here and like I'm looking at like Raw was a completely missable show last night, with the exception of like, let's take that back. I know we're jumping way ahead. Last night's Raw was a one match show. Like that's just as simple of a matter. Like it was a one match show. You were there for Cody versus Chad Gable.
yeah,
And my god, the two of them put on some technical masterwork.
yes. Oh, Gable's so underutilized, but
The most underrated person on the roster, hands
yeah,
down.
yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, we'll
And
get yeah, but when it comes to NXT though, like we're getting a lot of like the NXT too was like a one segment show personally, or maybe a two segment.
well, you only put down 3 notes from it, so yeah,
Exactly.
clearly it wasn't the best.
There was not a lot that jumped off the table. I mean, yeah, like they're really pushing a lot of the feuds, but like there's not really much to talk about when it comes to the Chase U segments fighting with Schism, except that they're progressing it. Like,
Right.
there's no real way to say anything. There's no been real like big. There were no like massive moments that had to be like that were changing the game. It was just
Right.
slowly creeping along storylines, and I feel like that's a lot of what all of wrestling was doing
This week in
this week.
particular.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like NXT was missable. Dynamite was pretty missable.
Record lows.
What?
Record lows, right?
Was record lows for Rampage last week.
Rampage. Rampage.
I think we covered that last. I think we covered that out of the Tuesday week notes from last week. Was that? Oh no, it's on the notes here. We can actually just go ahead into this. Well, let's finish with NXT notes. The two things that I did want to bring up: Waller stealing the production truck to call out HBK. He mimics the whole Super Bowl commercial with the changing your app, and
Yeah.
they were clearly playing off of that. And he's calling out Triple H for a Grayson Waller effect. What is it, in 2 weeks? Next week? I can't remember. I don't know. But essentially, they're pushing Waller versus HBK. The only good thing I'm seeing out of that, what happens if this is an actual opportunity for HBK to come back out of retirement again and have a proper final match? Not that bullshit we got in Saudi.
So, if you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have said no. Like HBK is he. I don't want to use the word disgrace because HBK is. I mean, I think he's top 5 for both of us.
Oh, absolutely. He's my favorite wrestler of all time.
I think and I'd say he's like top 3 for me. But so yeah, a year ago I would have said not a chance. HBK is done. But Stone Cold showed us at last year's Mania that you can come back and you can have a proper good match, with them being a little higher in age.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I'm not opposed.
I'm not opposed. One, I'm not opposed, and two, I'm not ruling it out. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say that that's not possible because it is.
Yeah, it's very possible, and I actually like the idea because at the same time you're using that opportunity to get Waller over more than he already is, and you're really putting like that stamp of approval on Waller, who is honestly, he deserves it. He really has improved so much in the past year. He's taken NXT by storm. He has become one of those heels that you love to hate.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is right there on that same plane right now as like Miz or MJF or like who are some other heels that you just really love to hate?
The Miz.
Yeah,
The
Miz is Corbin. Corbin's another
one.
Corbin's another one where it's just like you just love to hate him.
Yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for Corbin because I think he gets a bad rap, but he does everything that's asked and he gives everything his all. But that's another conversation.
Yeah. Also on that note,
yeah, I mean, that could build to, you get HBK back in the ring. He can finally have. I mean, his retirement match against The Undertaker was the perfect way to go out.
It was perfect, and that's why it's like you need to redeem yourself after that because you broke your promise by coming out of retirement to face Taker and Kane for that Saudi paycheck. Now you have to like redo that. Like you have to rebuild it.
If Triple H doesn't get hurt in that match, do you think it goes a little bit better?
A little bit.
But I don't think we're sitting here lauding it as one of the best of all time. I agree.
Because in all reality, like when you look at the 4 people that were in that match, if anybody was in the best shape to do that match, overall, it's Trips because that was before the pacemaker.
Yep.
Too. So like.
Yep. And I think that was before Taker's surgery. Was it?
I might have been.
And because he was moving.
No, it was after.
Rigid. Was it?
No. It was before because he got the surgery right before 36.
Right, because he was moving real rigid in that match.
Yeah, so he got the surgery.
He had any business being in there at all.
If I remember correctly, the surgery came either right before or right after the Boneyard match. And Crown Jewel 2019 was a couple months before the. Was that Crown Jewel 18 or 19 when they had that match?
I'll tell you right now.
I want to say it was 19.
EX versus Brothers of Destruction.
Let's take a look.
November 2nd, 2018.
Okay, so it was Crown Jewel 2018. Oh, yeah, it was definitely pre-surgery then.
Yeah.
Definitely pre-surgery. That was right after the... Because that was also right after the match with Roman, for the most part, at 33.
Yep.
2018 would have been WrestleMania 34. This is about a year and a half after that match against Roman Reigns.
So yeah, that's pre-pacemaker for Trips, pre-surgery for Taker. Shawn, obviously some ring rust, and then Kane was
Kane.
Yeah.
Who, again, was already a part-timer at that point anyways.
When your combined age is over 200...
It's not a good look. Not a good look at all. But no, it's okay. If this turns out to be, again, if at the end of the day, if this turns into Waller getting his flowers and putting HBK putting him over properly, I think that can actually make magic, make a memorable moment, and really improves Waller's stock price more than like to a point where he deserves.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. Breaker beating Jinder. I said last week I was hoping that didn't last long. Exactly. I'm glad they just got that out of the way. They had the quick little stare down between him and Carmelo, and then that's when they got into the whole production truck shit with Waller. I like that they're finally like really making it known they're going for Breaker versus Carmelo at this point. Like it needs to be a thing. It's time for Melo to take that title. It's time for Braun to move up. It's time. This is literally like now we're just like we're moving the pieces into place.
Correct. And so there's a note from a couple days later that you touched on, but I think it fits better here if we talk about it.
Sure.
You put in the notes that it's been confirmed that NXT has hired Plants to boo Breaker.
Yeah. So again, like last week when I said they were doing that whole Melo save us, Waller save us, report came out that they have been using Plants to boo Breaker, and honestly, it's smart because you recognize that the fans are turning on Breaker, so you're kind of like artificially forcing that turn almost, like forcing the crowd to turn on him, so that way it makes it a little bit easier when that title comes off of him.
Correct.
And it makes it.
Go ahead. Okay. I also prefer Plants over piped in crowd noise.
I agree. Oh, that's a great. That's a great point.
You know what I mean? Like I would much rather, because I mean, think back to when you and I used to live in the same area together, and we watched all the major shows together, and we would sit there and be like, is that piped in music or piped in noise for Roman?
The worst.
I mean,
I think what really ruined everybody for piped in crowd noise was when they overused it during the pandemic in the Thunderdome era.
Yeah.
And it was like, because of the fact that you have no option but to use it during pandemic era, it's like, it's so hokey. Because everybody else, like all the other companies, they found ways around it. AEW was using their own talents. Impact for the longest time was still doing empty shows. And then eventually they just started bringing fans in very lightly. New Japan, obviously, they've had the clap-only crowd for years now. And they're still coming out of that. Like, WWE was the ones that were the only ones that really went in with piped-in crowd noise. And it felt as artificial as it really was.
Correct. So I'm okay with the Plants.
I'm here for it, too. Only other notes I really made from NXT that were worth talking about. Obviously, we've had the Toxic Attraction breakup, the mimicking of the barbershop incident from JC to Gigi. It's smart that they went ahead and sent Gigi out for that attack because you're kicking into gear that Gigi JC rivalry that we're gonna inevitably get at Stand and Deliver. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that can be an absolute. That has match of the night possibilities.
Absolutely. I mean, granted, what are you chewing on, kid? Dog's like just right here at my feet, just chewing on something. I don't even know what it is. But I think, like, and I said this in the notes that I was expecting a few more weeks of build on that. I thought they were gonna build JC up a little bit more before bringing Gigi back. But the fact that they did it so quickly was like, ooh, then you're giving more weeks for these two to just get right at each other's throats and really build this up like hot. And
I think so. I don't, and I've said it on this show before. I don't watch NXT live, but I do watch. I watch recaps, and obviously you and I talk throughout the week and everything. I think they could be building this towards a last woman standing.
I'm not opposed. I was gonna say it was gonna be a steel cage, but okay. It's gonna be some kind of step. There's gotta be some kind of step.
There's no way that this is just gonna be a single fall.
Yeah, you gotta have more. With as heated as this is, this has to be more than a one-on-one.
Correct. I agree with you.
Yeah, and other than that, there's really nothing that I found of like particular note to come out of NXT last week. Again, a lot of weak notes. Let's go into Wednesday's notes. We have a little bit of football news here. Tennessee releasing Taylor Lewan.
Which, not surprising, because if you go back and there's a clip from Bussin' with the Boys, which is Taylor and Will Compton's podcast, And Taylor Lewan even said, he's like, I'm getting cut. He's like, I've been injured the last 2 years. I'm worth, I forget the amount of money. He's like, they owe me X amount. I've been injured for 2 years. He's like, there's no way that they
The
keep me.
numbers just, granted, he is. I mean, he's a 3-time All Pro.
Think.
Like he really is one of the
Good.
best
Yeah,
linemen in the game.
yeah,
But
he's
that's
damn
as
good.
good of a way as you can put it. Like if you haven't been
He
showing
looked
your
at it
worth,
very objectively when he talked about it in that clip of him and Will talking about it. He looked at it very objectively, and he was like, from a business standpoint, they would be foolish to keep me.
yeah. And if you're worth as like, especially again, like you're a 3-time All Pro, like that, you're gonna come with a high price tag. And if you haven't been showing like an ability to stay healthy for that,
Healthy, yeah.
especially in a position where you need your health more than anything.
Yeah. And I think Taylor Lewan's still good enough. I think that if, I think if you want, I don't know if I haven't heard anything of him talking about retirement or anything. I think if he wants to play, a team will take him.
Oh, absolutely.
I think a team will pick him up still. But if he wants to retire, he had a good career either way.
I think he still has
So
at least another contract under his belt.
yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna touch on this next one because
I was gonna let you have it.
involves,
It's your
it
team.
involves my beloved Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys reportedly are, quote, intrigued by CJ Stroud. So this is interesting because Dallas has the 26th pick. CJ Stroud is not going to be there at the 26th pick.
No way in hell.
Not a chance. And Jerry Jones does not typically like to draft up. So I don't know if this is just, hey, we looked at him, we like him, we think he's good, but like realistically, we're not going to get him. Or if this is, excuse me, if this is an opportunity for them to be like, you know what, we want him, let's go get him. Because in order to go from the 26th to top 10, probably, we're giving up somebody that I probably, as a fan, wouldn't want to see us give up.
Oh, I can agree with that.
You know, like,
And I don't think I have it anywhere here on the news, but there was something that caught my eye last night while I was watching. It had scrolled past by on the ESPN ticker while I was sitting at the restaurant. Was sitting at a restaurant for dinner last night. The Bears right now are leaning towards trading away the number 1 pick
yeah, they have Justin Fields. Why not?
because you could
I
still
don't.
get him some line protection with some of the.
I yeah,
You
yeah,
can
but
still use that first round. Like, granted, like I can see like if you're trying to trade down a few picks because somebody really wants C.J. Stroud or somebody really wants Levis or
yeah,
who's the other big quarter, Bryce Young. Like,
Bryce Young.
if there's somebody out there that's desperate to get him, I could see them trading up to the Bears because the Bears aren't afraid to trade down.
No,
And especially like with them in the position that they're in, where they have Justin Fields, they're comfortable with Justin Fields, they're committed to Justin Fields, and they just need to get him some help. You don't
well, plus
need.
my thing is if you have that number 1 pick, you can charge whatever you want for it.
Also true.
Yeah, I want 3 first round. I want 3 future first round picks for it. And if somebody really wants that number 1 pick, like you said, they want to go after Stroud or Young or Levis or even Will Anderson or any of the linemen that are emerging.
Anthony Richardson is also apparently getting a lot of looks after the combine this week.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got the Bears are in a great situation for them because worst case scenario, you still have the number 1 overall pick.
They better be thanking freaking what's his face that was coaching the
Lovey
Texans last
Smith,
year.
man.
Lovey Smith.
Lovey Smith, he's a bear at heart, bro. He was like, oh
That's
yeah, Houston.
right.
He's like, oh yeah, Houston. Okay, I'll help out Chicago. Fuck you.
Yo, I hadn't even thought about that when we mentioned it the other week. I was like, wait a minute. Lovey Smith came from Chicago.
Yeah,
He took
yeah.
Chicago to the Super Bowl, didn't he?
With Rex Grossman,
With Rex Grossman.
sexy Rexy.
That says something.
They also had Devin Hester. Who
Yeah, and Devin Hester that was Devin Hester returning the first
Put
kick
him
in
in
the
the
game.
hall. Put him in the hall.
Please. He got snubbed this year, right? Unfortunately, but he was snubbed. He's got to be
Get
in
him
there
in.
next year.
Get him in.
He's got to be.
Yeah. If Devin Hester doesn't, we're going to go off on a bit of a tangent. If Devin Hester does not get in the Hall of Fame, no special teams player ever will.
Exactly. He is the best special teams player of all time.
I
Hands
agree.
down, no questions asked.
I agree.
All right.
So
Anything else
let's.
football wise? Oh, AJ Brown says
Yes.
the Eagles need to either pay Jalen Hurts or trade AJ Brown.
AJ Brown needs to get off of social media. He said something else, and I don't remember what it was, and I didn't put it in the notes. But he's said a couple asinine things in the last 7 days. And first of all, Jalen Hurts is going to get paid.
Oh yeah.
Jalen Hurts is
There's
he's
no way you
going
don't
to.
pay him.
Correct. You just went to the Super. And since we're talking about Jalen Hurts, here's a fun fact: he's the first Alabama quarterback to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Learned that last night.
That's
Learned that
that's
last
an
night.
interesting fact actually. You would think that a school with as much like prestige as Alabama would have more winning quarterbacks in the Super Bowl than that.
You literally just said what the guy said in the video that I watched last night. He was like, "It's crazy that the school that is so good in the NCAA and has such high competition and is still good, we would think would produce more players to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl."
It's wild.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts is getting paid. AJ Brown, yeah, hell of a receiver. Hell of a receiver.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you would want him on the Panthers. I would take him on the Cowboys. I don't know an NFL team that wouldn't take AJ Brown.
Especially after the year that
But
he had.
but 4 words: shut the fuck up. You are not in the front office. You are not the person who's going to be making and like pay Jalen Hurts or trade me. I like.
You know, there's
Bro,
another
you're-
A Brown that got really wild on social media. That was a receiver that kind of made a fool of himself because of it.
Need we say more about that?
Does AJ stand for Antonio Jr.?
Well, Jalen Hurts is getting paid. AJ Brown.
Jalen Hurts
don't-
is getting paid. AJ Brown's gonna stay with them, especially because of the way that like they're like, we got lucky getting you from Tennessee. We need to keep you.
Correct.
There's
Correct.
no way in. There's no way. Not after the like they're gonna go for the repeat this year. They're gonna try again.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So I think that's our football notes for Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have something here about Edge and Theory?
Yeah. We didn't touch on it last week because I didn't know about it last week. But last week when Theory pinned Edge on Raw for the U.S. Open Championship, that was the first time in 528 days that Edge had gotten pinned.
Yeah, I had heard the same stat, and you have also on here that the only loss that he had in that time was the I Quit match against Finn, where they put Beth up as the
And if Beth
collateral.
doesn't get involved, Edge doesn't say I quit.
Exactly. I didn't realize that number had been so high, but it makes sense because he's been booked so
Year and a half.
strongly.
Yeah, that's a year and a half. You know, and I mean, I do still think that Theory pinning Edge was the right move. I think they should, honestly, I think they should have made a bigger deal. Like that was the first time Edge had been pinned in a year and a half because it would have helped Theory. You know, if commentary would have said something like Edge hasn't been pinned in 528 days, like this is, you know, I think that would have helped Theory look a little bit better. But either way, you know, kudos to Edge, man. On that, that's a hell of a win streak minus the I Quit match.
So
Which again, if Beth doesn't, if they don't attack Beth, he's not saying I quit. So
I believe we talked about this last week though, and since then, like this week especially, I was hearing a lot of other outlets saying the same thing. This Edge Finn feud is long past beat the dead horse.
we did touch on it last week.
Yeah, and even last night on Raw, we'll jump ahead. They had like a segment where they would talk to all of the Judgment Day, where like all of the Judgment Day did a backstage segment talking about how they're pretty much running the show right now. They played up Rhea challenging Charlotte, Dom challenging Ray, and then Finn goes out and challenges Edge again. And it's like, can we please stop with this? I get that you were trying to like tie everything up and put a bow on it, but it was already dead and buried. We're already over it.
Yeah.
We were over it like
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah, we could have done without the WrestleMania match. That could have it could have ended at Elimination Chamber, and it would have been fine. But again, like we said last week, what else would you have Edge and Finn do at Mania? It's not enough time for them to build a new rivalry. So this is what we're getting.
Sean Ross Sapp said it best last night on the post show when I was watching that. like I was laying in bed watching the post show while I was working on stuff, and like he mentioned that this is inevitably going to turn into, and when you talk about the issues with WrestleMania being too long all the time, the fact that they have started breaking it up into 2 days so that way they can
Yep.
spread it out. You don't have a lot of that fatigue. When you already have a lot of issues with time and like getting people onto the card, there's questions of whether or not they're going to do the battle royals or not because of and all this. There's a lot of issues coming up out of backstage this week about people not being happy with the booking because they're going to end up missing the card. Do we really need to waste another 30-40 minutes on an Edge Finn match again? Because inevitably, if they get that match at WrestleMania, we're going to have Edge stretching it out for as long as you can. And that is time that can be better spent on a lot more of your roster that needs the building up, that needs those big moments on that big stage.
No arguments from me, dude. No arguments from me. Everything that you just said, I agree with. You put it in much better, more eloquently than I could have. I think, because Edge and Finn, Edge is done soon.
Absolutely.
Edge is done soon. Finn is on the back nine of his career.
I'd say he's around.
People forget how old Finn is. He's not young. I mean,
he's just like a year older than me.
By wrestling terms, he's not young. By wrestling terms,
in wrestling terms, he's in the prime of his career, though.
But we cover two sports where old is 30s.
I disagree. I disagree now. In wrestling, 30s is where you really start making your... Unless you are a hot shot like your MJFs, your Brock Lesnar's, your people that just got it out the gate. Your Biancas. Well, no, Bianca's actually the same age as me. Bianca and Tej are around the same age as me. But they're still like just now getting their superstardom rockets. Johnny's older. A lot of these people that are coming up from NXT, getting their big call-ups and now becoming like the mainstays on the main roster, they're all in their 30s, and some of them even pushing 40. I think what is it? Damian Priest is 40 years old. Asuka's 40 years old. A lot of wrestlers these days, 35 to 40 is where they start hitting their prime. Because they've got 35. Enough years and experience in like doing what they're doing everything that they've done. They've learned how to do everything so silky smooth.
Correct, but at 35, they might wrestle for another 8 years.
Also true.
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, that might. The thing about wrestling is, they might be hitting their prime, but their primes aren't that long.
Also true. They have ability to stay with longevity after they've like exited their prime. There's a lot of longevity after that, but the prime window does only last a few years.
Correct.
Kenny Omega is a great example. Kenny Omega is somebody that if AEW were about 3 years older, he would have had all those like 6-7 star matches on AEW, and they'd be so much further ahead. But because of that, instead, he was going through his prime in New Japan.
Yep. And
he's already admitted now that he's on the back nine of his career.
We have a note about Kenny Omega I can't wait to talk about. We'll get there.
There's a lot. There's actually, I think we were supposed to talk about that last week and we never got around to it. But
yeah.
You put on that Sonya Deville got engaged. Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about it, so congratulations to her though.
I think to see it. I think that's just enough coverage for us. Congrats to Sonya.
I wrote in here about Nikki Bella shooting on Vince and WWE. I don't remember what she said. I just remembered it was a thing, and it wasn't very consequential. It was just basically her being annoyed. You know what? It's not like I don't have the internet open right now. Let's see if we can pull it up.
Yeah, because I didn't see anything about this.
I remember seeing something on a news video. I think Cultaholic had reported on it. Let me see. Do they have anything in the
Nikki Bella?
No, don't play the mute video. I just want to check your comments. Oh, if I remember correctly, it was just the fact that they were pushing other people instead of them and whatnot, and talking about how they didn't fit the. I don't know. It was a bunch of like. Honestly, it sounded like a whole bunch of butthurt. Honestly,
Nikki Bella was a very decorated champion for her time.
it was more so the fact that they got pushed to the back burner as soon as they started talking about the women's revolution, and we're all only focused on in ring like ability, and the Bellas were kind of more of your showmanship type deal, and it's like
Yeah,
that's why they went into that. Also, why they went into being reality stars though. So
yeah.
like,
That
if it
sounds a
does,
lot like Butthurt.
if it fits you, if it fits you, whatever. Anyway, it just sounded. All the comments, all the feedback I've been getting was that it sounds like Nikki's bitter.
Sorry,
And
Nikki.
sorry, Nikki.
He provided a pretty solid career for you and your sister, and you guys made a lot of money out of it. So
You got yours.
yeah,
You're still getting yours.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
fun one here.
Love this one.
2K23 coming out next month. God, we are only a couple of weeks away from 2K23 release. I might have to get that actually. I was supposed to do 2K22 on stream and I never did because I never bought it. But 2K23 may be a thing on stream. And this year they have announced that Woods and Breeze, up, down, down, are going to be selectable GMs. I am
Yes.
so interested to see what their power ups and everything are.
I'm
Like,
pumped for that.
I'm
Pumped.
so pumped. Like, could you imagine them playing as themselves on a YouTube series on Up, Down, Down?
I mean, they already kind of do.
Yeah, but they just don't have themselves as the GMs. They're using like the pre-builts, obviously, but like
Correct.
they're gonna definitely do something. Like, there's so much branding opportunity in there. I love it.
Have you been watching Battle of the Brands?
I actually haven't. I've dropped off.
Oh, okay. So I've been following it, and Tyler Breeze is Woods' champion on SmackDown right now. Um, but it's it's very entertaining. They honestly kind of dropped the ball a little bit too because they didn't realize how quick this release was coming up. So now they're filming like massive batch episodes, but then putting out these like 2 hour long videos. Like right now, their news video is like the entire build to their next pay per view because they want to get it done before 2K23 comes out. Also, like you know how I feel about Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze was one of my favorite wrestlers.
100%.
I own one WWE T-shirt, and it's the Fashion File shirt from Breeze and Fandango. So, yeah, I'm a massive Tyler Breeze fan. Love Woods, love Up, Down, Down. Yeah, I think this is a fun little thing. I think it's great. They are responsible for getting GM mode back in the first place.
Absolutely. I think they've been one of the biggest proprietors. I want to say definitely like when they started bringing it back on Up, Down, Down was when it really started booming in popularity on a lot of streams and everything.
Yeah.
The fact that 2K22 was such a hit, the fact that they even brought it back, and then so many people like I'm not, of course, like I know you're not as versed in Twitch as I am. You're more on the YouTube side of the house, but like.
Right.
A lot of places on Twitch now. That's a lot of the reason why I wanted to stream 2K22 last year was because I was seeing everybody create their own feds as GMs and just creating like entire stories.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to do that again this year, but it's like I gotta figure out how to squeeze that into the schedule and whatnot. Either way, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Good for Woods and Breeze. They deserve it.
100%. Let's go into our Dynamite notes.
Yeah.
Wheeler Yuta and Orange Cassidy putting on a clinic to open the show. You'll love to see it. Again, this is two of the most underrated champions on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really call them underrated when they're both champions right now, but
That's good.
also, like, more importantly, they're building this whole tease of, like, Yuta, like, they did this whole thing where, like, Yuta was supposed to be, like, Orange was sitting here trying to appeal to Yuta, be like, yo, we're still friends. We were still part of the best friends together and all this stuff. And Yuta's continuing this heel turn. And Claudio's kind of getting involved in on it now because he's like, Claudio comes out and he's like, you don't need to hang out with them. You're with us now. And just kind of gets Wheeler to step away. There's some intrigue there.
Yeah. I'm a big Yuta fan.
I love Yuta. I think he was one of the people that really, like, made his name during the pandemic era and deserves his flowers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people that have really made their name and deserve their flowers, Ricky Starks.
I thought you were gonna say Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho has enough stars. I mean, but the fact that they're really like, they found a way for Starks and Jericho to really push this feud for one last match. They're gonna do a Jericho Association, the Jericho Appreciation Society, staying in the back for this match. I don't know where this is going. I think Starks has to win this, but I also think that there's going to be a surprise debut from somebody. I don't know who. I just think there's going to be a surprise. The whole JAS has to stay in the back. I feel like this is either going to be Jericho putting Starks over finally, or this is going to pull in some kind of shenanigans of someone's getting attacked to build another feud that's outside of the JAS.
Okay.
I would like either of those options.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. There's the obvious answer, and then there's the out of left wing option, and I'd be down with either one.
They are.
Max Caster raps are untouchable once again.
Whoa. What are the options?
What?
You said there's the obvious option and there's out. Oh, I thought you meant you had like a particular wrestler in mind. Never mind. Continuing on with Max
the obvious
Caster
option of Jericho putting over Starks, or the out of left wing option of somebody coming in outside of JAS to ruin everything.
I'm a little slow sometimes.
That's the way I phrased it. Speaking of people, though, that, again, we have Max Caster. Again, they had the Acclaim just had a quick match against Lee Moriarty and Big Bill, whatever. But the highlight, again, of course, is a Max Caster rap. I want to see if I can pull up the exact words because it was just so damn good. Max Caster rap, Dynamite. On what was the last Wednesday's date again?
22.
I want to see if the site has the actual. And I don't remember exactly what he said. I don't want to play the video for sake of not getting copyright stricken. But inevitably, he looks at Big Bill and he's like, "Oh, and you are still SAWFT." And it was enough that it even made him pop. Like, he just lost his shit in the ring. He's just like, oh my god, he went there.
Big Bill's Big Cass, right?
Yeah.
How many name changes has he had?
2 so far.
W. Morrissey
to Big Bill. And Big Bill is just something that Stoke started calling him, and it stuck. So.
Okay.
MJF Danielson is a sloppy build, but we're getting where we need to be.
Yeah. Can't ask for more than that. I mean,
I think so. There's been a lot of reports that, obviously, as any good wrestler does, MJF puts a little bit of himself into every promo.
Yep.
And this week we had the whole MJF telling Danielson that he's ungrateful of all this stuff. He plays into his real life engagement being broken off.
Mm-hmm.
And starts talking about how he gives everything for the industry, and playing into probably. I don't want to be the guy that sits here and makes wild accusations on anything, but I want to address something on what may have happened here. So obviously, private lives are private lives. We shouldn't divulge anything like that. But
Agreed.
What we are seeing here physically, just with the storylines even that are being built. 2-3 weeks ago, he tells this wild story about him getting in a wreck while getting roadhead, and tells this whole wild story about him forcing the girl to be the one that gets arrested for the whole of the wreck. And it's insanely vivid. We are not here to speculate on whether it's real or not. Obviously, it's pro wrestling. Everything's a work. But there were enough people that were sending angry phone calls, calling the police over this stuff. Like, it became a real thing because a lot of people were marks and fell for it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if I was engaged to somebody that was going through that kind of stuff, of their own accord and they're just soaking it in because it's part of their character on a television show, I'd question the status of that relationship too. Like
Yeah.
just and it gives a little bit of realism though, because then that wakes Max up and makes him realize, am I going too
Too
much into
far.
this? Am I going too far?
Yeah, I mean, because
And
like you don't ever see MJF out of character.
you really don't. He's always
Ever.
doing everything in character, and that's what makes him so believable.
Yeah.
And the fact that he worked this into his character and in reality, psychologically, you can definitely work that into your character as well as much as it genuinely hurts you personally. And you can still let that be something that drives you, but it's like I want
There's
to
a
say
line.
it's terrible.
There's a line.
There's a line. There's a very much a line. And
So
honestly, when you look at just those facts and the way they're aligned, he told a story on the show. It probably ruined his relationship. Again, this is all speculatory, and we don't
correct.
want to be speculatory.
Allegedly.
Like this is just putting things hypothetically out there, and we're not saying it to be disrespectful or in any way. This is just trying to analyze. Like this is this is the road you're building for yourself with
I
your
could
career.
see whether that was just a work or there was some truth in it. I could if I was in a relationship with somebody and they went out on a national platform and said something like that, I would be uncomfortable with it.
Exactly. Especially when
And
there's so
now,
much discussion of whether or not it really happened or not.
right?
That's
And
enough.
now
That's enough to raise some red flags.
here's a question for you. And this is again speculatory. We're not we weren't there. We don't know. But is it possible that MJF the person has lost himself and he is just MJF the wrestler, a la old stories of Ric Flair?
I was
Because
gonna say a la
you hear
old stories
people,
of Roddy Piper, but okay,
but
same
you hear
difference.
no, because you hear people all the time saying that Richard Fleer doesn't exist anymore and it's just Ric Flair.
That's a really good point, and honestly, like I think that describes it perfectly.
Because he is so young and he's never had a character change.
No,
Even when he was on the indies, he was MJF.
oh, absolutely. He created this character in MLW for sure. Like
Right.
the
Right.
MJF character really blossomed in his time at the top of the card in MLW, and it showed. And
Is
that's
it
what got him
possible?
inevitably to being one of the four pillars of AEW.
Is it possible he no longer knows who he is and he only knows MJF?
I think it's a really good. I think it's a really good shout. Genuinely, I think that's about as that. I couldn't explain it better. He is losing himself, and the other thing about it too is because he is so young. Salty, thanks for the alert, much appreciated. But yeah, no, it's it's definitely. I see where you're coming from with that, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like I think with him being as young as he is, he hasn't quite learned how to draw that line.
Separate the art from the performer.
Exactly. I when I used to make short films in college, for a film and TV class, like a film and lit class that I had, I had that we went through a section. It was the last section that we had in the course, where we watched the movie Adaptation, which is about Nicolas Cage's character being a director that's trying to make a film, a non like a documentary about about the orchid trade.
Okay.
And the premise that she was trying to get through to us in the class was that when he was trying in this movie, while he's trying to make the documentary, he loses himself as the director and puts too much of himself into the film. And I saw those same mistakes that I was making in some of the films that I started making in college, and that's a lot of the reason I stopped pursuing it because I was just like, I put myself way too much. I'm putting too much of myself into this. This
Yeah.
isn't good
Yeah.
because I'm starting to lose that line. So you give me somebody that's younger on a national platform where they're getting applauded and lauded for their actions and stuff because they're doing everything in character, even when you're not on the camera, you definitely start to lose yourself.
Takes a toll. It takes a toll.
Let's move on from that. We don't want to go any further on this.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
already getting way too deep on that. Um,
yeah.
Lethal and Jarrett getting added to the tag title 4-way at Revolution.
Meh.
Meh. Why is Jeff Jarrett getting these opportunities in 2023? I get that they're entertaining. I personally don't find them that entertaining. I
Yeah.
don't see them as that big. I don't see him and Lethal as that big of a draw. I think that honestly, them being part of this whole thing, just from, I think that whole stable, the two of them, Satnam and Sanjay, I'm not here for. I have not been
Yeah.
here for it. And I'm a
Yeah.
longtime Sanjay Dutt fan. When from back in his X Division days in TNA in the mid
Yeah.
2000s, I was a huge fan of Sanjay Dutt back then.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
this whole thing just feels convoluted. I don't like them in that tag title 4-way. Obviously, they're trying to build it into getting them involved with the Acclaimed and the Guns. This is inevitably going to lead to another face team getting added this week, and we'll add that into predictions also. What
Yeah.
fourth team do we think is getting added to that match? And I don't know. There's, I'm not. I see Lethal and Jarrett winning that tag battle royal, and it didn't excite me. I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, two
That's
old
where you're
guys are
going.
getting an opportunity that
Yeah.
I'm already sick of.
Yeah. I mean, people give WWE shit for pushing older stars, but Lethal and Jarrett, eh, eh.
I've actually been hearing that a lot lately. Is a lot of the arguments of there being too many of the old timers, too many of the big names being at the top of the card.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
again, that's what plagued WCW in the early
Yeah.
days. That's
Good
what
shout.
plagued them and what drove them down to the point where they went bankrupt.
Yep.
They
Good
relied
shout
too much on
that.
their heavy stars.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Hayter, Ruby Soho, Saraya. That's probably gonna be a 3-way now, and I love that.
Yeah. So again, I don't watch AEW. Wednesdays are also another busy day for me, but that is very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Very intriguing to me. Like that
want
match
it.
match of
So-
the night contender.
Obviously, they've been doing this whole Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker versus Saraya and Tony Storm. They've been building up this feud for a long time. They've got the world title like mixed up in that, and now both sides are competing to get Ruby Soho on their side, and she's just like, "Fuck you guys, I just want the title." I
Right.
want to see Ruby Soho win this title, a la Chris Benoit WrestleMania 20,
Okay.
where you had Triple H and Shawn Michaels too busy feuding with each other about which way they're going to go, and then the third person gets added in, and they forget about him. Next thing you know, the third person takes the win.
Yeah. And also look like, Soraya's just coming back from her retirement, essentially. A 3-way is a good way to protect her.
That and you don't need the title to continue to build that other storyline.
Nope. Nope. You do not.
Yeah. Last note from Dynamite. More blood from
This is
Mox.
something you and I have talked about privately. I don't think we've talked about it.
I don't
I know
remember
we
if we
did
brought it up last week or not.
I don't know.
I remember last week saying something about it on the show where I was just
Yeah.
like the effect of Mox bleeding. So we get Mox
Ultimate
versus
Team.
Evil Uno as the main event, and we get blood again, and it's obviously to build up this whole Mox versus Hangman match, but it's again we get
Law
more
of
blood from
diminishing
Mox,
returns.
diminishing returns, and not only that, but we had other like professionals in the pro wrestling like media sphere that are commenting now that Mox is bleeding too much. Who was it? It was somebody big. It was like an
Bubba
EC
Ray.
Oh yeah, Bubba Ray. I was about to say it was an ECW legend. Bubba Ray on Bustin' Open Radio was the one that was even like, we're seeing too much blood from Mox. It's starting to lose its effect, and he's bleeding too much. And again, that plays into my theory that Mox is just punch drunk and just loves bleeding now, and it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, when Sammy and Roman had their match at Elimination Chamber, and I don't know if it would have been hard for you to not notice it, but Sammy had a scrape. Like this, like I thought that was more effective. I looked at that because, like, one, that's real.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna cut yourself from your chest to your abs. Like you're not gonna do that. But like when I saw that, I was like, ooh, like, and like I remember watching the rest of that match and being like, yeah, that shit's gotta burn. Like he's getting sweat in that cut, and like anybody that's ever cut themselves and then gotten some sweat, like that's. And I remember looking at Sammy being like, ah, man, like that's a 6-7 inch scratch, and there's some blood coming out of it,
Like,
and like.
it wasn't even that bad of a straight. It wasn't deep or anything. It looked
No.
a little bit like like a little bit of like road rash almost.
Yeah. But it's still, like, it was. I think that's more effective than what Mox is doing because now we expect Mox to bleed, and it's not that we expect him to because I think you and I are tired of him bleeding. But it's one of those things where it's a given.
Exactly. And it's just we're seeing too much blood out of Mox, and it's losing its effect. Honestly, I think, and we'll get into this when we do Revolution picks at the end of the show, but I think we're getting to a point now where Mox really needs that break. He needs time away because we're just so used to seeing him come out, bleed, finish a match, put someone over, or win the match himself, and then dip. And it's just that's all we're getting out of Mox now, and it's just like Mox is turning into an ECW holdover from 30 years ago.
Yep.
And it's not a good look. It's not a good look anymore.
No.
All right. Let's move on to Thursday news. We got a lot of football news this week.
Only football news.
Yeah,
for
only
Thursday.
football news on Thursday. The wrestling world was quiet for the most part on Thursday. There was a lot of speculation, not a lot of big news. Not that nothing that was of note to put on. So we got a lot of football news though. And to start things off, Broncos are bringing back Vance Joseph as the defensive coordinator. What do you think?
He's the former head coach. He was their head coach for the 2017-2018 season. I think he might have started 2018 and got let go midway, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Where is he coming from right now? I forget.
I don't remember.
I'm looking it up right now. He just came from being the DC over in Arizona.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, look, Broncos building knows him. He knows the Broncos building. I don't hate it,
He also apparently, like, a lot of it too is the fact that he has a lot of good rapport with Sean Payton.
Correct. I was just getting ready to say Sean Payton's not going to hire somebody he doesn't trust. He's not going to hire somebody he doesn't believe in. Sean Payton, he probably sees
the worth.
Van. Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
I think, and especially like him having knowledge of the playbook, with Sean Payton coming in, not knowing the playbook as well, you want somebody that's familiar with it to help you out. So, and if I remember correctly, those years were good years for Vance Joseph as DC.
He was head coach.
Or yeah, that's what I meant, was head coach. But I remember those being really good years defensively for Denver too.
Yeah, they had Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah. So I think that him having a good, like, recognition with that Denver defensive playbook, I think that he'll do wonders in that position, and he will serve as a great, like, source of knowledge for Sean Payton moving forward.
And you hire a defensive coach to coach defense, unless you're New England and you make Matt Patricia your offensive coordinator, whatever.
Or who's the other one that just went to the Jets that everyone's like, Todd Monken?
I don't know.
No, that's not right. It was the whole they hired him as a quote unquote way to entice Rodgers to come over. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Rams released Bobby Wagner, former All-Pro.
Yeah. I think it was a cap issue.
I believe it was too. That's a great defensive name that's got to be on the free agent market now.
Similar to Taylor Lewan. I don't know if he said anything about retiring, but if he wants to play, a team will take him.
100%. He will not be I don't think he'll be a free agent for long.
Me either. Bring him to Dallas. Micah Parsons and Bobby Wagner in the same linebacker field. Please.
That'd be dirty.
I
I'll let you
want
take
this
the next
next
one.
one. Yeah, I want this next one. So, report, not reports, report that Jonathan Taylor will be traded, quote, at some point during the offseason or regular season, end quote, reported by Connor Orr. So Connor was saying that with the new coaching regime, they will likely have a new offensive style that could be centered around a different style runner. He compared Jonathan Taylor to Christian McCaffrey last year, saying that since Jonathan Taylor is a free agent at the end of the upcoming season, why wouldn't Indianapolis deal him in order to get something of value for him instead of letting him walk for free, a la what your Panthers did with CMC?
I can agree with that. Get something out of
And
him. Get some trade value. Another example on the opposite side of that is someone like Derek Carr, where you didn't get anything for him and you just release him. So
correct. So when I first read it, I was like, "This is ridiculous. Like you're not getting rid of Jonathan Taylor." But then, like the more I think about it, and because that note is
the
5 days
Colts,
old now.
yeah, the Colts entirely. When I read that note, the first thing that came to my mind is the Colts are entirely like trying to rebuild and figure out their identity again. They don't have an identity. They are completely rebuilding. So if you want to say Jonathan Taylor's not the answer, yes, he had one stellar career that put him at the top of everyone's list, and then
Shit the
law of
bed.
diminishing returns came back the next year and was mediocre.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think him having this mediocre season this past year could hurt some trade value. But at the same time, there are plenty of he has proven himself as a good running back in the NFL, and again, if he a team will take him, somebody will take Jonathan Taylor.
Absolutely, you'd be stupid not
And
to.
I mean, I think you could potentially get a first round pick for him.
Who do you think he goes to? Like, what are some teams that you think would fit best for Jonathan Taylor? You have a star running back, star potential running back.
I hate to say it, man. No, never mind. That doesn't work. Um, so I don't think he goes anywhere in the NFC East because all four teams seem to have their running backs in place.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like Buffalo.
Buffalo's on the hunt
Somebody
for
like,
a solid like.
somebody like Buffalo.
But does Buffalo have the cap space for him?
That I don't know. Not Miami. Maybe I don't see Bill Belichick trading for him.
I'm trying to think anywhere in the West.
Seahawks.
Nah, I think they're pretty set with K9.
Yeah. I forgot Kenneth
After
Walker.
K9's
Really
explosive year.
he did come into it. He had a hell of a year for a rookie too. I don't know, man. Like Houston needs players.
Damian Pierce.
Oh shit, that's right. Why are we blanking on this?
There's not a lot of places that need a star running back right now. Hell,
Yeah, 'cause even the-
let him come to the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers.
If we
could
end up
pick
not
him.
making things work out with Deontay Foreman this year, we'll take Jonathan Taylor.
Falcons.
Falcons. Yeah, their backfield is really hurting right now.
Yeah,
Cordero Patterson is not becoming he's good.
and he's getting older.
He's getting old. He's too much of a utility player. He's kind of all over the field.
Right.
Tyler Algier had a decent year, but he wasn't really like jumping off the page for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean,
What about the Bucks?
yeah, because Fournette. I mean, unless
Fournette
they
and Rojo are not guaranteed.
No, they're not. The Bucks are a good shout. I was thinking the Eagles originally, and then I said no, that wouldn't work because I remember they have Miles Sanders.
Yeah,
Um,
Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is the first Eagles running back that I've been impressed with since
Westbrook.
Westbrook.
Yeah, although he was non-existent in the Super Bowl. We
Or
talked about that.
why
Go
am I
back and watch
blanking?
our Super Bowl episode
No,
if you want to hear.
I
us
take
talk
that
about
back. He is the first Eagles running back to impress me since Darren Sproles.
I always think of Darren Sproles as a Charger first.
I think of him as an Eagle.
The Charger? Oh no, they had Austin Eckler. No, never mind.
Yeah, that's a no.
Never mind.
I thought about that one.
Yeah, Austin Eckler is If I get the number 1 pick in fantasy
So
football, I'm going.
let's check the
Eckler this
North.
year.
The Vikings, no. Packers,
No.
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 Bears,
Bears?
Bears. Jonathan Taylor to the Bears.
That's not bad at all.
I like that. Who do they
Justin
have in the
Fields,
backfield right now?
Tariq Cohen?
I'd take Jonathan Taylor over Tariq Cohen.
Same. Jonathan Taylor and Justin Fields in the same backfield?
Jonathan Taylor to the Bears might be a...
No.
What?
You do not trade the number 1 overall pick for Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor and the number 4? To move up to guarantee yourself. So, and this is something I put this was in the news this morning or last night, or I think it was they were talking about it on Pat McAfee yesterday. There's a lot of interest right now from the Colts in Anthony Richardson. They think that he has superstar potential. That he's got a lot going for him. And if not even that, if Indy is that determined to find their quarterback of the future, if it's not Anthony Richardson, say they end up going with Bryce Young, say they end up going with CJ Stroud, I can see them moving up to the number 4 and trading away Jonathan Taylor moving up from 4 to 1 and including Jonathan Taylor as part of that trade.
Maybe, but running backs aren't as highly valued as they once were in this league.
Oh, I agree, and I'm not saying that's like gonna be the complete 1-for-1 swap, but I see that could be a potential move. Let Nostradumbass strike again.
We'll keep an eye on that. But the more I think about it, the more it does make sense that Jonathan Taylor he'll be dealt some point in the next 365 days.
Mm-hmm.
So. The next note was Mike Florio believes that Brady would come out of retirement for the 49ers if the opportunity arose. We talked about this, I think, in our first episode.
Mm-hmm. The idea of Brady coming back for the Niners?
It doesn't make sense. We both said it doesn't make sense. You've got Trey Lance, you've got Brock Purdy, you got Jimmy G. We know all three of them are going to be there at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. Jimmy G is likely the odd man out. I'd feel pretty confident in saying that. I don't see unless you. So here's my thought process, right?
Okay.
If the 49ers go out and get Brady,
mm-hmm.
they have to be all in on Trey or Brock. Because the only reason you bring in Brady is you bring Brady in to teach Trey or Brock for a year, go out and try and win a Super Bowl because the 49ers were close. They were a quarterback away from the Super Bowl, you know. If Brock Purdy's elbow doesn't fall apart and Trey Lance doesn't break his foot and Jimmy G doesn't hurt his shoulder, I think I got those injuries right.
Sounds right.
But the only way you bring in a 45-year-old Tom Brady turning 46 is if you firmly believe that you already have the quarterback of the future on your roster and Brady teaches them for a year.
Agreed. I mean, that's the only way I can see that being a good idea.
Way you can justify it.
Yeah, it's the only way you can justify it. Outside of that, I don't think I think it's a terrible decision. I don't think I put it in the notes, but Brady did just sign an extension on his podcast deal. So even though he's not doing his NFL analyst position for Fox this next year, he's taken I guess you can call it a gap year, but he's gonna be doing he's already signed on to work on his podcast, do a lot of other media appearances and stuff like that. So he's staying busy. If he doesn't come back to football this next year, I feel like him setting up all the deals and pushing off Fox for another year and whatnot, that is leaving himself open for one more year. Do I want to see him come out of retirement a second time? Fuck no.
No, thank you, Brett Favre Jr.
Is it possible? Unfortunately, yes.
Again, man, I'm going to make the comparison like I did when we talked about it a few episodes ago. I fear that Tom Brady is turning into the NFL equivalent of Ric Flair.
I can see it. I can actually see that. And I think, if anything, Mahomes winning again is driving him to be I got to pad my stats before Mahomes tries to pass me.
If he continues like this.
Yeah. And then the only thing I have from Thursday, Lamar and the Ravens. Lamar said he wants a fully guaranteed contract a la Deshaun Watson
Hey, the man.
Pay the man. But here's the wild thing about that. Just the facts of it is that this means that they are over $100 million difference in in extension
We
talks.
touched we touched on that last week. Yeah.
That's $100 million that they are off on.
Yeah.
Because he wants the fully guaranteed, and they're like, I think they offered him like it was like 50K, like or like 50 mil for like 4 years, but it was only like 60% guaranteed. Pay the man.
Lamar, look, man, Lamar needs to get out of Baltimore.
I agree. Now here's my thing. I agree that he deserves to be paid. I do not like these fully guaranteed contracts.
Why?
I don't like. You're putting all this pressure to be like, no, you're gonna pay me no matter what happens. You can be a complete like trash quarterback. Like, look at all right. Let's look at this right now with the sample size that we have with Deshaun Watson. Everyone said from the very beginning that Watson signing a fully guaranteed contract in Cleveland was a terrible idea considering he couldn't play the first 11 games.
I think it's a terrible idea because he's a terrible person.
That too, but I'm trying to look at this just from just objectively, like with the facts.
Okay.
He comes
Okay.
back in week 13 and puts up absolute trash numbers. They were better
Yeah.
off the rest of the season sticking
With
with
Jacoby
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
instead,
I'm,
they went out, they paid all this money for Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson puts up stinkers. If he doesn't, at least, if they don't go at least 500 this season with Deshaun Watson under center, or he gets hurt during this next year and doesn't play the full season, I will immediately call that the worst contract in NFL history.
so here's the thing about that. One, when you're suspended, you're not allowed in the building. So, and I'm looking at this purely from a football standpoint, setting aside how I feel about Deshaun Watson, the person. Deshaun Watson, the football player, was not allowed in the Cleveland Browns building. He was not allowed to learn the playbook. He was not allowed to build chemistry. So, obviously, when you're coming in 11 games into the season, you're going to have, quote unquote, ring rust. But I think maybe an offseason with the team, we could see maybe old school Deshaun Watson. Also, another thing that we're forgetting is look at how the Cleveland Browns organization has been run versus how the Baltimore Ravens organization has been run. I don't think it's fair to compare that because we all know that the Browns organization has been a dumpster fire for quite some time. And the Baltimore Ravens have they've only been a team for not even 30 years, 25, 26 years, and they already have 2 Super Bowls.
That's fair.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like the Baltimore Ravens are run, in my opinion, the right way. And I think that they're just being cheap with Lamar. And I don't know. Maybe Baltimore knows something that we don't know about Lamar. You know what I mean? Maybe he likes to go out on Saturday nights before game days. Maybe you know what I'm saying? Like maybe there's something about him that we don't know. But from what we see him do on the field, I don't see how you cannot pay him. It does that to me. And like you want to you already have Lamar, who's an MVP. He is an MVP in the NFL, and you aren't sold on him yet. You want to take a chance in the draft because look, man, busts happen all the time. Busts happen on a number 1 overall pick constantly. Busts happen in the 3rd round. You find diamonds in the 4th or 7th round. Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying?
Tom Brady.
You have a quarterback who is Tom Brady. You have a quarterback who has won in the NFL, has won an MVP, and is a hell of an athlete. I don't understand why you are not eager to keep him on your team.
You took the words out of my mouth. It's really the only way to put it.
Like, and I have the strongest feeling that Lamar, I think, here's my Nostradumbass prediction. I think the league year opens March 15th, I believe. I think that by our first episode of April, we are talking about Lamar Jackson being franchise tagged.
If not sooner.
If not sooner.
If not sooner.
So
And even still, if he gets franchise tag, he's still getting paid good.
he is. He is.
Um,
So this leads us to Friday. There's a couple good things in here.
yeah, let's start with our NFL news.
Before we even get to SmackDown.
Yeah, let's start with the NFL news while we're here.
Okay.
The Rams likely to trade Jalen Ramsey.
Bring him to Dallas too. Trayvon Diggs and Jalen Ramsey? Hell
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh, I wonder what his cap hit looks like right now. Because apparently, like, look at we've seen the Rams letting go of Bobby Wagner. They are trying to trade away Jalen Ramsey. It sounds like they're trying to really free up some cap space.
Well, yeah, the Rams went all in on that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the whole meme, the whole "fuck them picks" meme?
Yep.
I mean, the Rams went all in, and now it's catching up to them.
Exactly.
Which is why I'm surprised Sean McVay came back.
I don't know. I think they're cooking something up this year.
Speaking of cooking, Russell Wilson.
Great answer. So, a report comes out, and I forget who the report was from, but I need to start remembering when we do our notes, if we have like if it's a report or something, we really got to start putting like the links in there so we can go directly to it. I used to do that on my old podcast all the time, but we'll get there. Just a note for behind the scenes. But anyways, the report basically was that while Russ was still in Seattle, he wanted Sean Payton there. He was actively trying to get Sean Payton in Seattle, and he was doing everything in his power to get Pete Carroll and John Snyder fired.
So this is 2 weeks in a row of news about Russell Wilson not being a great person.
Imagine
last week with his charity, and again we did say that like maybe it wasn't Russ with the charity thing. We know, but him trying to get Pete, whatever.
Either way,
Pete Carroll trying to get Pete, like, bro, you won a Super Bowl with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll gave you an opportunity. He gave you a chance.
Legion of Boom is still like historical.
Yeah, and John Schneider's the GM.
Yeah.
So those two men are responsible for your NFL career.
Entirely. So the fact that you're trying to get them fired, like, I can see why they were so quick to get rid of Russ now.
Yeah, dude, and like my thing is, okay, you don't get somebody fired. Go to another team. And he did.
I've been saying this for a long time. I feel like Russ has become a distraction. I feel like he is in that point in his career where he is more wrapped up in himself and his own accolades that he is putting himself before the team.
And I forget who said it, but because you know how he's like a robot with the media. Mm-hmm. Somebody was like, it's almost as if he's trying to run for president. You never hear him say the wrong thing. You never hear him misspeak. He's always very deliberate in his word choices. Like, he is a robot of a human. And those Subway commercials are trash.
They really are. Who even eats at Subway anymore?
My 5-year-old.
He's a 5-year-old. It's different.
That's about it for NFL news.
Jeff Bezos hires a firm to evaluate the bid on the Washington Commanders. This has been rumored for a long, long time now. You almost missed this one in NFL news.
I did. But isn't there something that Bezos can't buy? I'm looking it up now, but isn't there something that Bezos can't buy Washington?
No. Like, legitimately, like, that's what the big discussion is. Everyone's been saying for a long, especially Bezos being a DC native now. Or not necessarily native, but he is a DC resident. He lives in the district. I've been by his house. That motherfucker's got security like a motherfucker.
I bet he does.
He literally posted up in the middle of Embassy Row. Come on. He has like prime real estate in this city. But honestly, I would much rather have him than Dan Snyder.
Okay, well, it's not going to happen.
Why?
Because Bezos might be banned from buying the team.
Huh.
Credit CBS Sports on this. Mm-hmm. Amazon founder was recently exploring the idea of buying the team, the Commanders. He even hired an investment firm, but he might have to put those plans on hold because apparently Snyder doesn't want to sell the team to Bezos. According to both the New York Post and The Athletic, Snyder has banned Bezos from bidding because he's not happy with how the Washington Post has treated the Commanders.
Oh, That's right.
Bezos owns the Washington Post, and under his watch, the paper has written multiple stories that didn't paint the team in a good light.
Then don't be a shit human being, Dan Snyder.
Yeah. Now, is Bezos actually banned from buying the team? This is where things get confusing. Although there were multiple reports suggesting that Snyder wouldn't allow Bezos to buy the team, Front Office Sports is reporting that Bezos, quote, remains in the mix, quote, to buy the Commanders. According to that report, Bezos' ban was only leaked so that the Amazon founder would bid more money for the team in hopes of driving up the price for the final buyer will end up paying.
Isn't the Commanders though like one of the most valuable teams in like sports?
Somehow, some way they are.
Historical factors, like you got the historical factors, you've got location, you've got merchandising, everything like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that obviously makes the Commanders a very valuable team. And that's why again, like when I hear that Bezos is being blocked by Snyder, is banned by Snyder, this is the equivalent of hearing that WWE is going up for sale and Vince is running up the price to make sure that Tony Khan doesn't buy.
So, and then in the last bullet on this report, Dan Snyder might not even sell the team. Commanders owner is hoping to get at least $6 billion for the team, and apparently no one offered that much during the first round of bidding that closed in December. If Snyder can't get his asking price, there's a chance he just might hold on to the Commanders.
I feel bad for them. Look, I genuinely sympathize for Commanders fans when it comes to this whole Dan Snyder situation.
Me too. Me too. Because, like, one of our good friends, Adam, he's a massive Washington fan.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I talk with him quite regularly, and he's like, dude, he's like, it's, and he was being genuine. And he was like, it's hard being a Redskins football team Commanders fan.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it's hard.
It's very difficult.
And he told me, he's like, he told me, and this is just one person, but he's also somebody that I've known since I was a freshman in high school. So, I've known him for a while.
Yeah.
He refuses to go to another game until Snyder sells the team, and he refuses to buy any merchandise. He still wears his Sean Taylor jersey because he refuses
Who's gonna
to
hate on somebody wearing a Sean Taylor jersey though?
That's
like, come on.
You're right. Probably not the best example,
Yeah.
but he refuses to buy in. He's like, I will not give them a penny.
It's like, it'd be different if somebody was like, I'm gonna keep wearing my Chris Cooley jersey.
No, because he's a legend. It'd be more like if somebody said they were wearing their Donovan McNabb jersey from Washington.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Chris Cooley's a legend in Washington. I met the man.
Yeah, he also, I'm pretty sure he's still like the play-by-play call on the radio station for them.
He lives in the area. He's
DC royalty.
He has an art boutique in downtown Leesburg.
No shit.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, that's it for what we have for football news from Friday. Some wrestling news. Cameron Grimes is waiting for a call up. What do you think? Raw after Mania?
SmackDown after Mania.
I think Raw after Mania. And I say this because somebody threw around an idea that I kind of want to see. I want to see Cameron Grimes interact with the upcoming return of bum-ass Corbin.
That could be good.
I like somebody threw that idea out, and I really like it. Plus, the idea of keeping Cameron Grimes and LA Knight on separate shows because they're so alike, and they had that giant feud in NXT for so long.
Okay, I didn't think of that. That's fair.
I would rather Cameron Grimes. He just feels like a Raw guy too, and I've always been a huge Cameron Grimes fan. Again, I'm gonna do my usual. I've been a fan of him since he was in the Impact as Trevor Lee in the X Division, the Carolina Caveman.
But during that whole GameStop thing, when he tweaked his character, if I had $1, for every time I heard you say "to the moon" in a Cameron Grimes voice, my car would be paid off. You loved that.
He took something and he ran with it. There was nobody better that could have done this gimmick, 100%.
Yeah,
I agree. He
I agree.
found it. He found an opportunity in mainstream news found a way to tweak that into his character and took it and ran with it and took the universe by storm.
It was great. It was fucking
I
great.
cannot wait until he gets his main roster call up. The fact that he's
Yeah.
just waiting for a storyline, like,
And let's not forget, great in the ring.
amazing in the ring.
Great in the ring.
He-
Like, he's
again-
not just a talker.
No, he again, like, watching his early days as the Carolina Caveman. Like, I used to see him on the Indies and doing wild shit. He was a standout in PWG for a long time.
Oh, PWG.
Yeah. Meltzer confirming Uncle Howdy is Bo. Saw it coming.
Okay.
Rhea and Charlotte, the favorite, the main event night, Mania Night 1.
It should.
Should. No discussion there.
Your Rumble winner gets a main event. Now we have 2 Rumbles and Mania's 2 nights. Your 2 Rumble winners get the main event.
I'm pretty sure I said that from the very beginning when they first started talking about Mania 2 nights. I was like, you got 2
Right.
Rumbles now, let each one main event another. And I want to touch on this as well. I don't think I wrote it down in the news, but it's been talked about the past couple days as well. Obviously, plans change in wrestling all the time. Cards subject to change. The rumors that were coming out, or the original plans that were coming out, Fightful Select was reporting this week. The original plans were going to be Bianca versus Charlotte. That was originally where it was supposed to go from the very beginning. It changed.
I do want to see that match.
No, I still want to see that match too, but that changed because they were a lot of it had to do with Charlotte coming back and taking the title off of Ronda, so that Ronda could take January off, and then the fact that they realized that Ronda was just not being factored into the SmackDown title picture. They need to go into that tag. They need to go into that tag division. I think again, her and Shayna going into the tag division is a good way to keep Ronda in the spotlight and use her star power while hiding the fact that she's not as good as everyone thinks she is. She's still shit on the mic. Shayna can carry that.
Yep.
And then just
I
have the
agree
two
with-
of them going around being complete ass beaters to the entire division. Let's go.
Yeah.
We
I'm
need
with
more
it.
women's tag division. We need more women's tag teams. And if the rumor is true that they're positioning Ronda and Shayna to be the next tag champs, I like it. I think I've been clamoring for that from the very beginning.
Yeah, bring back, and it'll give a little prestige to those women's tag belts.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to have Ronda Rousey be your tag champion and then do nothing with the tag belts.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to what happened to him last night when we get to the last night's news. But yeah.
Yep.
Money in the Bank in London, instant sellout.
That's what I was talking about in my intro.
Yep.
Sold out in under a minute.
Under a minute. Like the pre-sale codes, I was watching like a lot of like the British YouTubers and stuff.
Yeah.
Your What Cultures, your Cultaholics, all of them. They were like, we have pre-sale codes. Oh, pre-sale codes are out. Sorry, that went fast.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that was an
I was
instant
gonna-
sellout show. And again, it's the Brits love wrestling.
Cultaholic boys, and they were saying that like Pachidi, Sam, and Jack, and Ross all were trying to get single tickets, and couldn't happen.
I don't doubt they'll still get media. They'll get press box seats. Let's be real.
Something.
Somebody's getting press box seats for that show. From
Even if it's just
all
one
the
of them.
companies, like there's gonna be inevitable media, especially with them doing these whole like media breakdowns at the end of every show, which honestly I love. That's something that they brought from that New Japan's been doing for a long time that I absolutely love. I think it's an easy way to build storylines, and it adds to the sports side of things.
Yeah, I agree. It makes it feel real. Do you think those questions are pre-screened?
100%.
Okay.
I think like they pre-screen the questions just to be like, yo, we need to make like again, I've done a lot of work in public affairs, and I've always made it like a huge like proprietary thing that you always make sure that your interviewee has all their questions beforehand, so that way they're not sitting here for 5 minutes thinking, oh man, what's a good answer to this? You want them to be
Right.
prepared with those answers before they even get there.
Right.
I think the questions are genuine. I don't think they're plants. I don't think like I think sometimes there's plants where it's like, no, we have a plant as a reporter that's supposed to ask this specific question.
The specific question that we want to be asked. Right.
I think a prime example of how that went was at the end of Elimination Chamber. we got Austin Theory for a promo, and he used that to push Cena. I feel like a couple of those questions felt planted.
Okay.
They
Fair
felt a
enough.
little ingenuine because at the same time, it's not like really are people going out of their way to ask Austin Theory questions. They
Right.
needed that to push the narrative.
That's fair.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at with that. Senior Vice President of Talent Operations and Strategy for WWE, James Kimball, has been removed from the company due to an undisclosed HR violation. I don't want to
That's not
speculate on what it is.
me either, but that's just not good.
I mean, there's no telling what it was. Best of luck in your future endeavors. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where that goes from there. That's just completely. It's just it was in the news a lot, and it's just like I don't know anything too much about it. But it's just like, hey, especially when you hear about all the cutbacks you hear in the offices back like up in Titan Towers. You never know what's going on up there.
Yeah. Going on.
Let's get into our SmackDown notes. Not a lot. This made me laugh when we were typing this in the notes. So Madcap Moss is in a match with, I forget who it was, but it was. I mean, he's in a match. They're giving him his time, and Graves mentions on commentary how his brother had just become the Cardinals DC, and I had to stop and look, and I was just like, wait a minute, Madcap Moss is related to Nick Rollins? And then I go in and I go to Wikipedia, and it's like, yep, sure enough, his real name is Michael Rollis. And then you're just like, who the fuck is Nick Rollis? I had to like remind you from last week's show that like, no, he just got hired as the new DC for the Cardinals. So like,
Because I wasn't thinking of the NFL. I'm like, is this some like NWA wrestler that I don't
Yeah.
know about or something? Like I wasn't thinking of the NFL connection.
Yeah.
I was purely thinking of wrestling.
I just thought it was interesting though, because again, like that cross section of football and wrestling, like you don't get that
Mhm.
often, and that's again, Moss is a former football player too, so
Yeah.
like that's where he gets his size. And everyone's very high on Madcap Moss. I think he has a great future ahead of him. Heyman has praised the shit out of him for years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And I have to agree, like he needs time. We talked about it last week. He just needs time to develop.
I
He
agree.
needs time to develop a character, and then he's there.
Yeah.
Charlotte comes out to call out Rhea, and Dom comes out and starts doing this whole thing, talking about like hyping up Mommy, and then they have Rhea come out for the stare down after Charlotte confronts Dom, and we just need to acknowledge that Prison Dom is one of the best things on television right now.
Absolutely.
He had 2 segments on SmackDown that he killed. He killed that one with Charlotte, and then he turns around and kicks this
Hang
whole
on.
thing. And
We might need to go to a break
oh yeah, I hear your phone vibrating.
on my phone, my apartment door.
Oh, all right.
So yeah.
We'll take a break.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
All right.
I need to go refill my coffee. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about Dom. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be right back, everybody. All right. And we're back. Sorry for that little break. Gotta love when maintenance checks come through, right?
Yeah. You know, good old maintenance.
I'm
had to come
refilling
to
my
the-
coffee, and I just hear your fire alarm going off, and I was like, oh, okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
It
Part of
happens.
living in an apartment building.
It happens. So to go back to what we were talking about,
Dominic killing it on
is
2
just-
segments.
What's up?
You were Dominic killing it on 2 segments. Is where we
Yeah,
left
so he
off.
kills it. So he kills it with the Charlotte segment, and then he kills it with this whole like really pushing into gear, and confronting Ray. He has this long stare down, keeps telling Ray to hit him. Ray cowers away. We're getting this tease for Dom versus Ray at Mania.
Yeah.
It's been a matter of time. We were just waiting for it. They kept pushing it. They kept keeping it as like a thing, like we were talking about last week, where they just come in every holiday and interrupt. We're getting to this point, and again, like we were talking about last week, we're not sure. We don't want to get into this argument again because we spent enough time talking about it last week. But Dom unmasking Ray, it might be the time. It might be time, and and we're getting the push for the storyline now. So let's go.
I'm all in on this mask versus hair.
Yes. we get Bray doing a Firefly Funhouse, and I know a lot of people have already turned on Bray.
Yeah.
I think we, for the most part, have nearly turned on Bray.
Yeah.
But we get Firefly Funhouse on Bobby Lashley, like him hyping up this match with Bobby Lashley. He keeps just saying, "Can you keep a secret? Can you keep a secret?" All this stuff, and it's getting super cryptic. And I'm not gonna lie, it feels like a return to form for the Firefly Funhouse, and it's giving that intrigue back.
So, I have a couple issues with it, and I think I've turned on Bray.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I have. I don't see how you, and I know he said that the Fiend character is dead. Don't see how you can do Firefly Funhouse without the Fiend. I think they're just trying to go back to the well without going all the way in the well. Also, this is Bray Wyatt's MO. Let me say some cryptic things. Let me drop some hints. Let me send people on this wild goose chase. But then when it comes time for me to actually deliver, I put up stinkers.
This is the common theme that you're hearing around the internet now, is that Bray overbooks everything.
Yes.
And I see that. The other prevailing theory that I'm seeing on Reddit and around the internet right now is that the reason they're putting him against Lashley is so that way they can build back up the Hurt Business, which will in turn eventually bring in the Wyatt Six to face them.
And by the time all this happens, it'll have been a year from when Bray came back.
Exactly. I mean, I can see like this being the payoff, and then we get Howdy unmasked as Bo Dallas. I could see that being a thing. And if they really go all in on this, bring Alexa back as part of Wyatt Six, which they were also teasing. You find 3 more people to really fill out that stable.
Yep.
I think they could actually I think it's the last shot at redemption.
So,
and we said this last week too, that he's on his last strike.
Yeah, and I'm of the, first of all, if Bray Wyatt wants to go and direct a horror film like he's talked about, I'm all in on that.
100%.
I would love to watch a horror film created by Bray Wyatt.
And you love horror movies.
Love it.
You absolutely love horror movies, and I'm over here wearing a Donnie Darko shirt. So
my right leg is dedicated to horror tattoos.
Speaking of which, side note on that, I pointed this out to you, but if anybody isn't watching, if anybody is a fitness head and loves YouTube and loves watching YouTube videos for their fitness, Sheamus has been doing Celtic Warrior workouts for years. One of the best series I've seen on. Incredibly good. And this week he has Dominic as a guest, and it's visible that you can see that he also has horror film tattoos on his legs. And I texted you and I was like, "Yo, you need to go check this out."
Yeah.
And you were just, I'll be damned.
Yeah, but so back the Bray Wyatt thing, when it comes to wrestling and Bray Wyatt, I need him to show me something. Breaking news.
Breaking news?
Yep.
What do we got?
This is credit Yahoo Sports. Eagles hire Sean Desai as defensive coordinator. Seahawks assistant coach will reportedly become the new defensive coordinator for the reigning NFC champs.
The Seattle defense last year was...
Seattle overperformed it last year.
They really did. They had... If there was one team that nobody expected anything out of last year, it was Seattle, and they put up. Yeah. It was put up or shut up, and they put up.
If at the beginning of the season we just read off the teams that did make the playoffs and we would have said the Seattle Seahawks, you and I would have been like, one of these things is not like the other.
100%.
But yeah, so with Bray Wyatt, I need him to show me something. I'm tired. I'm at the point now where I'm over the cryptic shit. Go out and have a good fucking match. How about that?
I agree. And it sucks because I love the pageantry side of it when he does all the horror shit. Honestly, it's one of the things that really gripped me back in when I was starting to lose my grip on wrestling in the late 2010s. And it was just I want it to be good. I don't think it will be good.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's the problem, and I feel like that's always going to be the problem. And again, like I said last week, if it comes down to it, release Bray, let him go have his fun at Impact where I feel like he's the best fit.
Or start his own fucking company.
No. No. We can't afford another company. We can't afford another one. There's already not enough time for the ones we got.
Yeah.
Especially with Ring of Honor returning to television this week too. That's
Good
gonna be a
for
thing.
them.
I'm not tuning in. I don't have money for Honor Club right now.
Not doing that either.
I mean, I'll read the reviews. We'll get back to that when we have the time for it. Also, I'm not gonna be able to do Dynamite reviews this week, or upcoming because I got my Wednesday night DJing gig back. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna have to go back to doing just reading the reviews on Dynamite,
That's what I already do. So
or I could just get DVR finally, again. This is like the first department in a while I haven't had DVR, and I've always had DVR specifically for wrestling, so that way, again, like we were talking about, I think I mentioned this either last week or the week before. I always loved watching live for that exact factor of like, what are we gonna miss?
yep. What's gonna get cut out in the re-edit?
Yep. The only other thing we have from Friday, from SmackDown, at least, was the Bloodline storyline. We get they're teasing this whole Jimmy needs to figure out what's going on between him and Jay before the end of the show, or next week Roman's coming to fix it, and it culminates in Jimmy coming out to the ring, calling out Jay, giving his mind, and then Sammy comes out, and Sammy starts calling out all the reasons why he's like, I don't want to fight, I just want to know why. And then they start fighting over like who deserves to get an answers from Jay more when Jay appears in the crowd and like walks down and just stands there. The two of Jimmy and Sammy just start brawling it out. We're getting the push to this feud, and honestly, they're building it right. Like, it feels like it's building slow, but it feels like on second view, like on second thought, this build is going just the right speed at just the right time, and it's really the only thing you can say about it. And we'll get to that as well when we get the raw notes from last night as well. Like, we're seeing this feud progress at all the right time frames, at the right speed, and it's working.
Perfect storytelling.
This is what we've been clamoring for decades, and we're getting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Friday night was also no surrender for Impact, because they always do their pay-per-views on Friday nights. Why? Couple notes, nothing too big. Stuff that's like really standing out for me. Obviously we get retentions. It looks like every title that was defended was retained. Hendry kept the digital media. Macklin's the new one. Steve Macklin, former what was his name when he was with Forgotten Sons? I can't remember. I think it might have been still Steve Macklin because this is his real name. But again, him coming to Impact and really making a name for himself. He's now the number one contender for Josh Alexander's title, who of course defeated Rich Swann. I'm sorry, Rich Swann was not winning that match. Josh Alexander's run is just lasting forever. Mickie James retaining over Masha Slamovich, though, was a surprise. I was so sure that Masha was going to win that one, and we still have Mickie working without a contract as the Knockouts Women's Champion.
If you scroll down and you read some of the top comments on that Reddit post, maybe, just maybe, it's because they want to make the match Mercedes Moné versus Mickie. If they do it, then it makes sense. They don't, Masha should get the title in the next pay-per-view.
Agreed.
Thank you, Reddit user, Familiar Outcome 688.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. Masha really is like one of the best things in Impact. She's a fucking monster.
Do they have the money for it?
What's that?
Does Impact have the money for Mercedes?
Doubt it. But at the same time, AEW and New Japan having their working relationship, or not AEW, Impact and New Japan having their working relationship. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of crossover between New Japan Strong and Impact, and I love it.
Also, you know, Mercedes has an appreciation for the women that came before her. Maybe she would just want to fight Mickie James.
Again, her whole thing, like, I mean, she's fought Mickey James before, obviously, but yeah, I can totally see that being a champion versus champion thing.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, and I don't think I put this in the notes, but it's something I saw as well. Apparently, Mercedes Moné only has 2 more dates on her New Japan contract.
For her. Get
For her
that
contract,
bag.
mind you. Just the contract. That's not necessarily saying like she's gonna not gonna extend or anything like that. They're not gonna
Right.
keep the belt on her. She's only got 2 more dates though that are confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Speaking. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, because I'm leaving the Impact. If you're staying with Impact, you go ahead.
I wasn't leaving. I was leaving Impact too, kinda. I was staying on the Mercedes Moné topic. Was just the fact that she was having those tweets back and forth with Kenny Omega, talking about intergender championship matches. Her and Okada versus Omega and whoever else.
Yeah.
I could see that being a thing.
I would love to see Omega versus fucking
Yo.
Mercedes.
Yo, wait a second. So we know that Kenny has great relationship with a lot of the females in Stardom.
Yep.
Kenny has a great working relationship with New Japan.
Yep.
New Japan and Stardom obviously working together. They've got this whole thing working together. Like, again, you could easily do, and this is another big thing that's being talked about too, is the fact that we've got Mercedes Moné going into a potential Forbidden Door 2 as IWGP Women's Champion.
Yep.
That's 3. Like, there's a lot of pieces that can go into that, but also all of them have respect for Stardom.
Yeah.
Give me Okada and Moné versus Omega and Iwatani.
Oh, good. Shout.
Give me Kenny with Mayu Iwatani, because they have a lot of good working relationship with each other. They have a lot of rapport. They've worked together great in the past. I think that's the match.
That's not bad.
I like that. And then yeah, we pretty much covered everything on Impact. There's nothing really else to. I mean, Death Dolls were chaining over the Hex. It's cool that we're getting an NWA women's team in here, but whatever. Bullet Club, Kenta getting the pin over Time Machine. I forget. I think he pinned Chris Sabin. I can't remember, but still. And then we have that whole like situation with Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray. Bully Ray throws coffee into Tommy Dreamer's face. Was that really something that you need on a pay-per-view? Impact your padding.
Let the ECW guys get their money.
Yeah, whatever. All right. This weekend was stupidly slow on news, so we're gonna get through this.
Yes,
real
it
quick.
was.
We just knocked out all 4 of these bullet points just right out.
Sure.
King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournaments are apparently being scheduled for the Saudi pay-per-view on May 26th.
Love that because Saudi and women, and I love that.
There's one thing I don't like about that.
Yeah.
You're overloading May 26th. They're purposely doing that because what's May 26th also? That's Memorial Day weekend. What normally happens on Memorial Day weekend?
AEW.
Double or Nothing.
Yep.
And granted, that's probably another reason why you're doing it in Saudi, so you can have that afternoon show. But then you're getting Money in the Bank, or the King of the Ring, Queen's Crown into Double or Nothing. It's going to be a long day for us.
It's a long day.
It's going to be a long day.
Might as well just request that day off. Spend the day watching wrestling.
I damn sure won't be streaming that day. That'll probably be like watch party day or something.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega obviously was injured. His contract's coming up, and there's a lot of Kenny Omega contract talks. We might as well just go ahead and address this now, even though it's part of Monday news. It kind of broke over the weekend for the most part. But there's a lot of interest right now with the end of Kenny Omega's contract coming up. They did extend it because of injury. It could go up to 9 months. There's no telling, but again, it's more so because of the fact that it's like, hey, you got injured. This is kind of standard protocol. You're gonna have to fill out an extra couple of months. That pushes ahead this whole idea of will Kenny leave AEW, leave his EVP, leave his executive vice president position? Like,
we've seen Cody do it.
Not only that, but they've also 2 things. One, Kenny Omega has nobody left on that card to fight. There's not a lot of people left for him to fight. He's pretty much done and seen everything there is to do in AEW. He needs greener pastures, and there's still all those many dream matches that he can have in the WWE. I still want to see Omega Rollins. I still want to see Omega Reigns. I still want to see Omega so many people.
Yeah. And Kenny Omega has come out and said that he wants to have a WWE run before he calls it a career.
Let's not forget also that before AEW became a thing, there were originally talks between Omega and the Bucks and
Yeah.
WWE, and those all went very cordially and very well. And everyone has a lot of respect for each other. Like it was still like a business is business in this situation, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like all three of them still made sure that they kept those doors open with WWE. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to say they worked? What wrestler doesn't want to be able to say they worked for the WWE for at least a period of time? That's still like every wrestler's dream.
Yeah, and also let's do some quick math here.
Mm-hmm.
Contract gets extended 9 months, so it's up in December.
Okay.
So December comes, Kenny Omega's a free agent.
The bidding war of 2024.
Oh, so here's what I'm thinking: Cody Rhodes wins the title at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Holds on to the title for a little bit. We go to the Royal Rumble, count down. Who comes out at 30? The cleaner.
See, now that kind of plays with my booking a little bit though, because right now, if I'm looking at numbers, how things normally go, I think Cody hangs on to that title until about Royal Rumble. And I think that he will inevitably drop that title to Seth Rollins.
There's your Seth versus Kenny match.
Exactly. That plays it one into the other.
Yep.
Plays one into the other.
Love fantasy booking, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Obviously,
let's see if Nostradumbass strikes again on that one.
we know. Look, we love Kenny Omega. Both you and I think he's a fucking incredible work rate wrestler. He's happy. We're happy.
Yeah. Age is getting up to him, though. And at this point, he just needs to do it for him.
Yep.
100% he just needs to do it for him.
Yep.
Jeff
Also,
Hardy.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one. You
So-
wrote the news on this.
Jeff Hardy is not going to jail after multiple DUIs. His license has been suspended for 10 years, and his cars have been ordered to be impounded by the judge in, I believe, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he has to have 2 years interlock, which is breathalyzer, blow and go, whatever you guys want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
2 years interlock after he gets his license back.
He's also got a fuck ton of community service he's got to do on top of that.
Look, Jeff Hardy has 9 lives when it comes to this shit.
He has gotten more chances than anybody deserves.
Yeah. You know, I hope that maybe this can be his rock bottom. Maybe this can be where he throws up his arms and says enough is enough. But the problem, I think, is a lot of people are still willing to give Jeff Hardy another chance. I think that we'll see him in a wrestling ring again soon.
But he still takes the bumps good. That's what everyone's thought process is. It's still Jeff Hardy. He still bumps. And it's like
age is catching up to him. His brother. I believe Matt Hardy said he wants one final run as the Hardy Boys before he hangs them up.
I get that, and I get that Hardy is working on himself, but I think he needs.
Is he?
Or is it all just for show? Or is he really
it...
not working on himself and he's just staying backstage or staying behind the scenes, sitting at home, like thinking about what he's done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for people bettering their lives.
And I hate to say it, but I feel like he has too many people enabling him.
Yeah.
In order for him to really, because I feel like this was a big thing too last year. When Jeff Hardy first got arrested and everything, Matt Hardy was still defending him. It was just like, no, it's not like that and everything. And it's legitimately like...
Remember the mystery of him leaving WWE? He went to a house show and then just walked off the apron.
Yeah, there's still people that insist that he was sober for that, but it's still like drunk guy behavior.
Right. And look, like, I'm all about people bettering themselves, and I do believe in second chances. But there has to be a line when you're on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th chance.
Exactly.
And I mean,
this
luckily,
transcends sports. This is like humanity here.
Yeah, and luckily Jeff Hardy has never injured anybody with his DUIs, and he has never But you know what I mean? Like, how many chances do you have to
Like,
get before,
this is like, what, his
unfortunately, somebody
fifth
else is...
DUI in as many years?
I'll do a quick on the Google machine on that. How many
How many DUIs does Jeff Hardy have?
DUIs?
Hey, Google.
How many DUIs does Jeff Hardy have? I also just got a notification about Leonard Fournette.
Oh?
The 44-year-old has been arrested for DUI 3 times in the last 10 years as of July 1st, 2022.
Okay. Wait, July 1st, 2022?
Yeah,
That means that's not counting the new one. That's 4.
correct. Wow. Jonathan Taylor to the Bucks might seem a lot more likely now with this breaking news.
What's up?
Buccaneers will release running back Leonard Fournette when new league year begins March 15th.
Did we just have a Nostradumbass moment?
I think we did.
Did we just have
Thank
a
you.
Nostradumbass moment again?
Thank you, ESPN and Yahoo Sports, for that notification.
I think we just had another Nostradumbass moment live on
Yep.
the air.
Yep.
Look at that. The pieces keep falling into place. That you're right. That makes Jonathan Taylor to the Bucks a lot more likely.
Yeah.
100%. And then the other big news from this weekend, we had that Tommy Fury Jake Paul fight. And
Yeah.
I know we don't really talk about boxing as much, but this does have some implications here.
Yeah.
Because, for one, Tommy Fury just defeated Jake Paul's undefeated streak by a split decision. Let me give credit where credit is due. Jake Paul won that by split. Jake Paul lost by split decision, which means he still put in work against Tommy Fury.
Did you watch it?
No, did you?
I did.
How was
I
it?
did. It was good.
Yeah?
Good fight. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I said it all day. If you're gonna gamble, gamble responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet on Tommy Fury, and I won. Thank you. But I was saying it all day. I was like, if Jake Paul wins this, I think his fights are officially scripted.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't win, and I don't think he should have won. He did win a couple rounds. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't. He did win a few rounds.
Mm-hmm.
That third round especially, man, if you can go back and watch, Jake Paul put the fucking gloves on him in the third round.
Now, I remember saying this months ago. Everyone wants to hate on Jake Paul because he's a celebrity and hasn't really, quote-unquote, faced anybody of note. You still gain a lot of experience by being in that ring and facing people.
Yeah,
You
I
still
agree with
gain a
that.
lot of practical application. You still have to give him credit where credit is due. He has definitely taken to boxing, and he's good. Good enough that he can take Tommy Fury to a split decision.
Yep.
Like, granted, he may not have really beaten anybody of note before that, but this is a genuine first notable match, and the fact that he can still bring it to a split decision, you gotta still give the man some credit. He does know what he's doing.
I think we're getting a rematch in a couple months anyway.
100%. Well,
Jake Paul said he wanted to run it back. I don't know if Tommy Fury responded in the moment because working at a sports bar, when fights are over, the entire bar wants to leave
Cash
at
out.
once. Yeah,
fight's
exactly.
over, let's cash out. See, that's why
exactly
the
how
smart
it
people
was.
cash out during the 11th and 12th rounds.
Well, this was only an 8-round fight.
Oh, 8-round fight? Okay.
There
That's
was
why
no
you
title.
cash out during the 7th or 8th round. So that way when the match is over, you're not fighting in that line.
Correct. So yeah,
We
I got to hear a
we
little
know
bit
our
of Jake
ways.
Paul. Yeah, we've been to enough fights in our day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake Paul said he wants to run it back. I don't know if Tommy Fury responded. But yeah, I think we'll get another rematch because it was a good fight. It was a good fight.
And so
And Logan Paul said that if Jake lost, he would sell his stake in Prime. And he put on Twitter, he said, "All right, who wants it?" And Ricochet responded. So maybe Ricochet is getting a nice little chunk of Prime here moving forward.
who knows? So while we're talking about that,
Oh my God, Prime on a pole match between Logan Paul and Ricochet.
Let's go.
They had that awesome interaction at the Rumble.
Let's go. I love it. Let's go. No, so the reason I bring this up, so again, watching the post show last night, SRS and Denise brought up something brought up a really good point. There is a very real possibility that we get Logan and Jake Paul in the WWE versus Tommy and Tyson Fury. There is a very real possibility.
I mean, yeah, half of them are already in.
And honestly,
Three-quarters of them have appeared on WWE TV.
if Logan Paul can make the transition from boxing to WWE as smoothly as he did, what's to say Jake Paul can't do the same thing? What's to say that when Jake Paul isn't done making a name for himself as a fucking boxer, in like people start exposing him as being the fraud of the division, that he is not as good as everybody else, that there's nothing that says that he doesn't make the transition to WWE as well. I'd like to see it. I think the both Paul brothers in the WWE, make them a tag team.
I think the issue is I don't think Jake Paul would take it seriously like Logan has.
I think
and I think
a few more years, then at the very least, especially you wave that dollar in front of their face. You know that they would be waving enough dollars to bring in for make Jake Paul to at least be like, all right, let's talk about this. And Logan would be the one to like force credibility as well.
I think Jake Paul, you would run the risk of Jake Paul going into business for himself. He strikes me as that kind of a cocky, arrogant kind of person.
Or you could turn that into him being a pro heel.
More breaking news, courtesy of the Pat McAfee Show.
Yep.
Adam Beasley tweeted that the Dolphins have not made a decision on Tua Tagovailoa's fifth-year option.
That could be really big here soon.
Mm-hmm.
With the QB shuffle going around, that could be real big.
Yep.
We are still in the middle of the QB shuffle, so... All right, that covers the weekend.
Lots of breaking news today on our show.
Yeah, well, and that was the other thing, too. Before we even went live, I had to drop like 6 different pieces of news from the Combine.
Same. Yeah.
So it was like, shit, we got to get going. Going into yesterday's news, our favorite, I know you want to talk about this.
Yo.
The Commanders have released Carson Wentz after 1 year.
Yeah. And all of the LOLs that you posted after or typed after that are greatly appreciated. Carson Wentz does not belong on an NFL team.
Overrated. Terribly overrated.
Very. Had a great season in 2017 with the Eagles, and Nick Foles stepped in and finished the job for him, and I think that was the beginning of his downfall.
Yep.
I don't see why I was a big Carson Wentz hater when they signed him last year. I remember I literally posted. I put on Facebook. I was like, Washington fans, never forget that you just traded for a man that sprained both of his ankles on one play.
Yep.
And I don't see. Go ahead.
No, just the fact that like people were still trying to hype him up as the future for the Commanders when he had just done the same thing in Indy and failed miserably. Like, the writing was on the wall. He wasn't making it work in Indianapolis. There was no way he was making it work in Washington.
Yeah, and like my thing is Washington. You watched him. You played against him twice a year for a few years when he was with Philly.
Yeah.
Oh shit! More breaking news.
Jesus.
Tom Brady, to chase stand-up comedy dream after delaying Fox Sports gig, is working with Netflix to host, quote, the greatest roast of all time.
Wait, a roast?
A roast of Tom
Brady. Okay, I'll watch a roast of Tom Brady.
I would love a roast of Tom Brady.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with. Now, when you said stand-up comedy, I got really scared from it. But if we're doing a roast of Tom Brady, sign me up. I'll go full hatred on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Carson Wentz, man, I was blown away, but I was blown away that they signed him, but I wasn't blown away that they signed him because Washington signed him. Mm-hmm. Unlike Taylor Lewan, unlike Taylor Lewan, unlike Jalen Ramsey, unlike Bobby Wagner, I think Carson Wentz is done.
I think so too.
Crazy that he's gonna. We talked about it earlier. Busts happen all the time. If I remember correctly, he was a number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
which league does he go to next? XFL or USFL?
I think he goes CFL.
I was gonna say CFL or CFL.
I think he goes CFL.
Speaking of which, do we want to cover XFL? I mean, not a lot of news from the XFL. I didn't actually write.
I'll just throw out there that my Brahmas won. You know, my newly acquired team.
We called that. Also, we'll get into this. I was going to save it for when we start actually doing Revolution picks at the end of the show. We need to address something. 2 weeks ago, we started doing picks again with the with the Elimination Chamber. We didn't get a chance to score them because I didn't write them down when we were supposed to. That being said, I scored them after last week's episode.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, you
fucking
did.
tied.
We tied.
We made picks last week on week 1 of the XFL.
No.
We tied again.
Oh my god.
Because we both called the Brahmas winning, we both called the Roughnecks winning, I called the Defenders winning, and you called the Battlehawks winning.
Love that.
So once again, we're going into week 3 with still no champion.
That's awesome.
And when we do our Revolution picks, we'll hopefully break that next week. Somebody's gotta win.
Yeah.
The Cowboys determined to work with Dak on an extension,
I thought it was a restructure.
a restructure, whatever.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he's due $49 million on a cap hit.
Yep. I love that. I think Dak is a team first kind of guy. I don't think obviously you're not going to play for free. But I think that he also realizes that if he wants to keep some of the weapons that he has, he's going to have to take less money. I think Zeke realizes that too. Yep. Yeah, I'm all for it. That's my quarterback.
Jumping back over to the Commanders, because this came after that. The Commanders have also released Bobby McCain, another all-pro defensive player. Going,
Yep.
Wasn't Bobby McCain also part of the Legion of Boom at one point? I feel like.
Was that Rolando McCain?
I can't remember.
Playing?
Either way, I mean,
I don't
Bobby
know.
McCain's a former all-pro player. Like, he
I think,
won't be-
again, somebody will sign him.
somebody else sign him. Defensive players, anytime they hit the free agent market, they're going somewhere, guaranteed. Even if they're just playing backup somewhere, they're most of the time.
Yeah.
If you have an all-star defensive player, they're not going to be on the free agent market for long because there's always
Because even if they can't go, they can teach the younger guys how they did what they did.
Yep.
You know? And I love this for our last piece of NFL news for Monday. I love this last
Yeah.
one. You wrote it, so I'll let you do
Yeah,
it.
so
But
I don't normally like to cover position coaching just because that's going a little bit too deep, but
Yeah.
the Chiefs have signed on Alex Smith as their quarterback's coach, and
Love that.
That's beautiful. I think that's a great idea. He's
Couldn't
one of their
happen to a
best
better guy.
quarterbacks. I think you having Alex Smith as Patrick Mahomes' as coach, that's
Patrick Mahomes already learned under Alex Smith.
yeah. So all you're doing is basically just giving them the opportunity to work together even more. And
Correct.
probably that's also giving Alex Smith the opportunity to really build up his coaching repertoire.
Yep.
What's to say that in a few years we don't see Alex Smith the offensive coordinator?
Right. And I mean, again, it couldn't happen to a better guy. That leg injury in Washington was gruesome. Fuck you, FedEx Field. Yeah, like Alex Smith's a great dude, great human. I'm glad he got that. I'm glad he got that job.
Speaking of terrible fields and Washington, while we're talking about it, I do want to give another highlight to the XFL. The Vegas Vipers. That field was absolute trash.
Trash, bro. That
saw
feels
that shit?
awful. Yes.
They were like
Yes.
you had players slip sliding all over the place. Where nobody wearing cleats. Like damn.
Yeah, and that kicker when he went for that PAT.
And he slipped. That was
Yeah.
harsh.
Yeah, not a good look, Vegas. Y'all got the money.
What do you want to do now? So we have a bunch of football news that we can just go ahead and cover from this morning, and we can do that while we're still talking about football, and then just go into wrestling, or we can talk about Raw notes now.
No. Let's finish up with football.
Yeah.
Then we'll do Raw, and then we'll end with our Revolution picks.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay. So the Giants announced. So this is all from just this morning. This is before we even went live today. The Giants announced they're releasing Kenny Golladay at the start of the league year.
I just saw your fourth note on this morning.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I did not see that before we went live.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was the thing. That one happened just before we went live. Let's go ahead and talk about that one. The Falcons released Marcus Mariota.
I'm not surprised, but I am surprised.
I'm not surprised because I think that there are. I didn't count too highly on the Falcons being one of those teams that are really on the lookout for another quarterback. But with, again, and we've been talking about this for a while now, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are out there on the free agent market. And there's a lot of those guys that I would take over Marcus Mariota.
You think they're happy with Desmond Ridder?
That also could be a thing, too, because Desmond Ridder right there at the end of the season last year really started to develop. And that was the whole big thing, was that they wanted somebody to help Ritter develop.
Yeah.
I think them going out and getting another maybe stopgap quarterback that's in the league, that's in the free agency right now.
Yeah.
I think that's a good option.
Mm-hmm.
Just get a veteran name to pair with Desmond Ritter, somebody that's better than Mariota.
I think Mariota might be in the same column as Carson Wentz.
I think so too. I mean, he's
They
been a
might be
career
done.
backup for so long. I think his career is
Journeyman.
pretty much over. It's
Yeah.
time for him to transition into analysis or coaching. It's time.
I would love to see Mariota go back to college football because he was electric at Oregon. I would love to see Mariota go back and do some college football analytics or coverage.
Put him on game day. Shit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Giants releasing Kenny Golladay. Sorry, we kind of skipped over that. I'm not surprised at all. What's his name? Matthew Stafford made that man look like a fucking god in Detroit, and then he came to New York and just shit the bed.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think he probably gets one more chance with another team.
Absolutely. I think there's enough teams that need help at wide receiver that
wide receiver depth is so important. You know, look at the Chiefs.
Well, and this is what I question too. The Giants are one of those teams that really need help at wide receiver. I get that things weren't working with Kenny Golladay, but they really need help at receiver right now. And I don't know if letting go of one of your better names is the option, unless he's due a heavy cap hit, and you think you can go out and pick up somebody maybe in the draft or in free agency and really replace him. Which, honestly, I don't see that being that bad of an option. Like,
No.
I could see it.
No.
The Bills, Leslie Frazier is taking a gap year. That's something that's unheard of in football. A coach taking a gap year.
Yeah, I hope that everything is okay with him and his family and loved ones. I hope it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's just maybe he just needs to take some time for himself. Whatever.
Leslie Frazier's been in the league for a long time, and he's been doing a lot. And especially like after as hard of a year as the Bills had on defense, with everything that happened with DeMar, everything that happened with Von Miller getting hurt, all the injuries that they've experienced, that defense melted like butter by the end of the year. Unintentionally, it's just the injury bug got them. And after as mentally taxing of a year as that was, I don't blame him. Let him take a year off.
More breaking news. Eagles have found their new offensive coordinator, promoting quarterback coach Brian Johnson to the role Shane Steichen held in 22.
Okay, so they're keeping it in-house.
Eagles are busy today.
Yeah. And then another piece of football news that we have, the Commanders have said that they will be using the franchise tag on Daron Payne, which was one of the things when we were talking about franchise tags last week when the window opened. We said that was going to be one that was probably going to happen. He was a star on their defense last year, and he deserves to get paid. So good for him.
More breaking news. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
2023 NFL preseason will open with the Browns facing the Jets in the Hall of Fame game.
I'm not surprised.
Moving on.
The Browns always play the Hall of Fame game. Because it's in Canton.
Because it's in Canton. Yeah, that's right. Duh. And our last bit of NFL news, unless we get more breaking news throughout the remainder of this recording, I feel like who knows what will happen in the next 30, 45 minutes by the time we finish up.
Right.
But Dan Snyder has been accused of fraud. That was the other thing I touched on in my intro. Apparently there is a mystery $55 million loan, and the reports are that Snyder has used the Commanders as his, quote, personal piggy bank, end quote.
Now, this is what we were going to talk about. That was just like, please, for the love of God, let this be the death knell for Dan Snyder. Because
he's got 9 lives, too.
At this point, that's what it's going to take for him to get rid of, him to let go of ownership of the Commanders and let Bezos take it.
I think he's going to have to be forced out, man.
We've been saying he's going to have to be forced out for years now. Everyone knows that you're going to have to force Dan Snyder. They've been trying to force Dan Snyder out for years now. Remember when the owners all like collectively agreed that they were trying to get rid of him a couple years ago? And he's just like, I've got dirt on everyone.
Dirt on you all. And then that fell apart real
Yeah, then everybody just
quick.
kind of shut up. And it's just like, ooh, maybe he does have dirt on everybody. So that could get like contractually spicy. All right, so now let's go back to Raw notes. And there was one other piece of wrestling news from Monday that we didn't mention, but Vicky Guerrero is coming up to the end of her AEW contract. She was doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff for like
Yeah,
what's up?
I think she's a good hand. I think she's a good hand to have on a roster. I think she can help the younger women and everything. Like I like Vicky. I don't like her on screen.
Yeah, I think Vicky, like, granted, she plays her on-screen role very well, but I don't think there's a place for her. But she is apparently a godsend backstage, and does a lot of work with like helping like women's empowerment. She was doing a lot of work on AEW heels. She's in all reality, like, office side of the house, she's a great hand to have. You're a really good point, and it's great to see that she still gets all the love from this industry. After
I got chills.
Yeah,
I got chills. Yeah. Because, I mean, when you're married to one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, you're going to pick up stuff. And then when you become a wrestler yourself.
Not only that, but again, like, losing your husband to this industry.
Right. Right.
And
like, I think she is invaluable.
100%. She is invaluable to the entire industry. I think her leaving AEW, like, easily, just, like, being very, like, easy with it, I think that's fine.
I could see again. I think she is similar to some of these NFL players. If she wants to go to another company will take her. If she wants to ride off into the sunset, she can do that too.
I could see her either working with the Knockout division in Impact, or coming back to WWE and doing a lot of backstage stuff,
or ambassador.
I like that option too. Or if she really wants an on-screen role, give it about a year or two. Wait for this Judgment Day whole thing to break up, and then have her start managing Dominic.
I love that.
Just watching your face go like, oh shit.
You saw me put 2 and 2 together on that?
Yeah. And
I
just like
love
instantaneous.
that.
Imagine Dom with Vicky and playing up the whole Eddie's my real dad thing.
Wait. Oh my god. Oh my god. You don't know when her contract's up, but Dom beats Ray. Vicky comes out on screen.
I don't know. If she gets back into the company in time for Mania.
Right. You beat your dad. Let me show you who your father is.
There's so much there that we can do.
Yep. One last note before we get into Raw. Reports are saying that Papa H wants a smaller WrestleMania card, wrestlers aren't happy about that.
And I touched on this earlier. Like, he wants a smaller card. He wants it to not be as exhausting. He wants things to be, like, nice, clean, and concise. And that inevitably turned into a bunch of people saying, wait, that means we're not going to get time on the card. And that's always a big thing, is who's going to get their WrestleMania payday, because it's always the big payday. It's your big event of the year. I can see that being an issue. And again, that's where I also believe that we need to bring back the Battle Royals, just so that way all the rest of your hard-working people that don't have an active build still have their opportunity.
Gable. Like Chad Gable, your Dawkins,
all those people that are like your Johnnies, your
Candace.
Yeah, your Candace. I also heard a lot of people recommending that we bring Naomi back in the Rumble, or in the Battle Royal. I mean, would we want to see her win a second women's Battle Royal when there's only ever been like 3 of them? I don't know, but it'd be a nice spot.
Yeah. Before we get into Raw, I'm gonna need you to carry this. I didn't watch last night. I had a buddy of mine.
That's fine.
A buddy of mine is a musician, and he's playing at a place, and they were going to get rid of live music unless a big crowd came out. So a big group of us went out and supported him, and he tore it up.
There you go.
Tore it up.
Good stuff.
But unfortunately,
I'm not hating if you weren't here. It's whatever. If you watch it, watch it.
I was gonna watch the review before we went live, but my realtor called, which I texted you about. So I haven't even watched a Raw review yet. So I'm totally blind in this.
I will tell you this right now. Again, last night was a one-match show. Other than that, you really didn't miss much. It was and this was a lot of the arguments, was that last night was a very forgettable show. And now there's a lot of people questioning, is Vince back in creative? Because this felt like some Vince creative. There were builds that were pushed, but not very well. Like, they pushed the feud between the Bloodline right now by having Jimmy come out with Solo and just it started like running at the mouth, and it turned into a match between them and the Prophet and the Street Profits. And then at the end of the match, you have Kevin Owens come out and attack. It was all like by the numbers. It wasn't really memorable. It was just you're pushing the build the way you need to. And that's what a lot of last night felt, was just pushing feuds that needed to be pushed with the bare minimum. They really it felt like this entire episode was like just phoned in.
We've got to remember that they are still building towards WrestleMania. Not everything can be super action-packed. They can't risk injury. Sometimes these lulls of the show they serve their purpose.
Exactly, and that's exactly what this show felt like. It served its purpose. There wasn't a lot that was really exciting. That's why we don't have really that many notes. But
we first have to be immediately intrigued.
Yes, so this is actually the segment after that main event, or that opening segment with the Bloodline and whatnot. As it was announced last week, MVP announces that Omos is challenging Lesnar to a match at Mania. And
which I don't want to see.
What's that?
Which I don't want to see.
Nobody does. So literally, like, the whole thing starts with, before MVP can even come out for the VIP lounge, Brock beats him. Brock comes out first. And it's just like, oh, he's like, hey, I'm not here to fight or anything like that. And literally the entirety of the VIP lounge, and Brock is in rare form as always. You could tell he's just chilling, relaxing, having fun. And he literally goes into this with, why should I be interested in this match? And MVP just goes on a 2-3 minute rant talking about all these things about the Beast can beat all these mortal men, but can the Beast beat a giant? And really sells the match. I'm not gonna lie, he did a really good job selling that match, making people care. It's not, I mean, it's still like you moved it up for like the care factor up from like a 2 to a 3, but it's still
MVP's good on the stick, man. I mean, I could see him doing a good job of promoting.
Mm-hmm. And again, I still think there's gonna be some level of this that comes into they're bringing back to Hurt Business, and Omos is part of it this time. I still think that we're building to that. It's just building slowly. And again, we'll see where that goes. And then, like, the whole thing, again, like, you knew MVP was going to get an F5.
Yep.
And it all leads into a whole, like, Brock's got a flask of White Lightning in his jacket pocket and tells MVP to drink with him. And again, like, honestly, my first thought process on this is MVP's drinking with him. Is this a lot of the reason why he left Islam? Like, he wanted to drink again? I don't know. No telling. But, yeah, that's a whole thing. It's also, again, why MVP is not welcome in Saudi, because it's like considered cardinal sin to give up on your faith. Other notes, Cody has this banger of a match with Chad Gable, as is expected. If you want to look up one thing from last night's show at all, find the spot of Cody giving an inverted suplex, or inverted superplex off the top rope to Chad Gable.
Okay.
Piece of work. It is magic. It is they hit the move perfectly. Match ends with Cody hitting that perfect. He hits one of the most beautiful Cody cutters and transitions directly into a crossroads. And Chad Gable has some of the best selling you've ever seen. This really was a one-match show. They gave the two of them 10 minutes with about 3 minutes of that under a commercial break, but that was 7 minutes of solid in-ring technician. This is what you come to see.
Okay.
100%. This is what you come to see. This is what gives you interest. And like everyone was saying, outside of the main event, which I don't even have the notes written down here for, but we'll cover that as well. It was a 1 or 2 match show, and that one match was enough to, like, I don't feel like I wasted my time watching Raw last night.
Okay.
Because that one match was so damn good.
Gotcha.
also,
Cody's going to SmackDown, huh?
Say what? Yeah, and
Cody's
then at the end of the
SmackDown.
match, Cody wins. And then he basically says, like, it's pretty interesting that the Tribal Chief is planning to come to SmackDown next week, because I'm going to be there too. And because he actually calls out, like, at the start of that, he's like, you know, we are 5 weeks away from WrestleMania, and I haven't even stood in the same ring as my opponent yet.
Yep.
And he basically says, "This is like, I I have not even gone face to face with Roman yet. We need that moment to happen." So imagine the creative shitstorm we're getting on Friday night, where you have Roman that's too busy trying to deal with this whole bloodline situation. And now all of a sudden you're just gonna add Cody in to like face him off, and be like, "No, you're still dealing with me." I think we're getting that creative shitstorm on Friday night.
Maybe you should go to the show.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should go make a couple $100 real quick and buy a ticket. Like, I'm genuinely considering it because, if anything, just being in person to see it will be enough to be like, yo, hold up. Plus, I still want to throw a Pigskin and Pinfall sign on commentary on a hard cam.
That's right.
I want to put us on
right.
hard cam. Just get people interested. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
At one point, I can't remember during what match it was, but Corey Graves calls Mickey Avalon a great lyricist and makes a Mickey Avalon quote. It made me pop. I laughed because, let's be real, we all know Mickey Avalon from one song and one song only. We have another WrestleMania trailer, which honestly, it was just like, so basically it's Montez and Bianca doing the whole like the front of the ship scene with Titanic. Bianca holding her arms out, I'm flying, all that kind of stuff. It was very simple, and then it just turns into like, it's just them being a cute married couple. And it wasn't like fall out of your chair laughing kind of funny. It was just a cheesy little, oh, that was cute. It was funny. It made you smile. And because it was just simple. It was the two of them doing the scene from Titanic, and then Montez is just like, "Wait, we gotta take a selfie real quick. It's not it's Pixar. It didn't happen." And he drops his phone off the front of the boat. And it's simple. It's relatable. It's fun. And it was one of those like charming, like, again, you're not falling out of your chair laughing at the hilarity of it. It's just something that puts a nice little smile on your face.
I can't wait till we get the Brawling Brutes 40-year-old virgin waxing scene one.
That's gonna be an interesting one. Yeah, so that was, again, it was a bright moment. We'll see it again on SmackDown most likely, but it was just, it's a feel good moment. We get Miz comes out for Miz TV, and he comes out with the envelope, and it's like, what's the big mystery? Again, I was still hedging all my bets on a third kid being announced.
Yep.
I was wrong. What we're really getting is Miz hosting WrestleMania.
I love it.
I love it too.
I think
Best
it's perfect.
place on the card for him.
Great way to get him on the card. He's the A-lister, and I think we're going to get some celebrities at Mania, so why not have Miz look like an idiot with some of these celebrities?
Just him continuously like being undermined by the entire roster while he's at Mania. He's just like, I'm the star here, and everyone's just like, LOL, okay.
Right.
Like, I see that becoming a thing. We get Lashley in a match against Elias. Pretty much a squash. Elias didn't get a lot of offense in, and then after the match, Lashley basically gets on the mic and starts talking about the fact that it's just like, wait a minute. So Brock Lesnar, he calls out what everybody's thinking. Brock Lesnar cheats to get out of that match, forces the win on Lashley, and it's like, so great, I win, and my prize is I have to deal with Bray and his kitty games, and it made sense. He's like, why the fuck do I even want to do this? I have no interest. It's whatever. And then as he's walking back up the ramp, we get replays of a little bit of the Firefly Funhouse from Friday night. And then we have Bray doing the Muscle Man dance with a bunch of clips of Lashley posing spliced in between. I popped hard. I popped so hard because the last time I did the Muscle Man dance at the beginning of the Firefly Funhouse shit, that was one of the most random things that I absolutely fell in love with. I changed that to my my Reddit tag I think it's still my Reddit tag, is Muscle Man dance. It's cheesy, it's funny, it fits the theme of it being a kid's show and just dancing around. It feels like a kid's segment, and then just the whole he basically used the entire same one as last time, just with pictures of Lashley doing all of his poses from the years when he was with Leo Rush.
Yeah, and my man Bobby Lashley.
It's literally just a bunch of jump cuts to Bobby posing in the ring, meshed in with the
Yeah.
all that mixed in with the Muscle Man dance, and I'm just hysterically laughing. Everyone else is like, "Oh, great, we're doing this again." I'm enjoying it because again, that was one of my favorite things in the early years.
Yep.
We get a backstage that we get our usual backstage segment with Chelsea Green complaining. Carmella comes out and is complaining because we have a face off between Bianca and Asuka. They're facing off against each other. Just doing in-ring face-off type shit, and then at one point Carmella, it was right after like a Asuka Carmella match or whatever, and then at the end of the match after Carmella, like while they're having a stare down, Carmella pushes Asuka into Bianca and causes that whole thing, and then dips out. So then she comes backstage and starts rambling while Chelsea Green is talking Adam Pearce's head off. Adam Pearce is like, "Oh, I got a phone call. I got to take this," and walks out. And then they start teasing like Chelsea and Carmella becoming friends. Again, we need women's tag teams, and I think it's a great fit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with it.
I think if you're gonna pair, honestly, I can't think of anywhere better for those two on the card. They get lost in the shuffle in the singles division at the moment, and you really want like the two characters completely like blend together. I think Chelsea and Carmella would be a great tag team. And then you have some kind of, and then down the road you inevitably bring Graves and Cardona into it.
Yep.
I think that'd be a great stable. Shit, give me that as a stable. Because there's also, I don't know if we covered it. I don't think we covered it last week, but there's a lot of discussion. Apparently, Graves wants to get back in the ring.
Yep. I've seen that too.
I would love it. Honestly, like, I never got the chance. When I first started watching NXT, was the same takeover that Graves announced his in-ring retirement, and they announced him as part of the commentary team. That was literally my first NXT event, was them saying, when one door closes, another one opens, Graves, we're here to welcome you onto commentary. And he's been on commentary ever since. He's been great at it.
I love him on commentary. I know not a lot of people do, but I think he's great.
We get further extension of this Otis and the Maximum Male Models gimmick. They basically like they're backstage while Otis is checking on Gable in the trainer's room after that match, and they're like, we need to get you a match or whatever. And then Otis starts being Otis and is like, "Pierce, need a match, ready to go," doing his whole thing. And apparently Johnny takes the challenge. And then during that match, we get Loomis returning to try and kidnap Massey during the match, which
nice.
Yeah, so we get Loomis back. Loomis is back in the whole like mix now. And somebody pointed out as well, like, you've got Johnny and Dexter. Now you have Nikki floating around Candice, which that also got pushed last night too. Candice was in a match with she got a roll-up win on Piper Niven, and Nikki's just kind of floating around. And this idea that Johnny and Candice just keep picking up strays, like stray wrestlers with nowhere to go, and just like creating their own like home of misfits. I don't like that idea. Let that be a little stable. And then the main event last night, Becky and Lita beating Damage Control for the women's tag titles. And during the match, Bayley starts getting involved and Trish comes out and attacks Bayley. Two big takeaways from this match. One, overbooked in the end by far. They needed a better way to bring Trish into this. It's already a few weeks late that they brought Trish into this. They could have found a better way.
Correct.
Two, Lita does not look good in the ring. She
Really?
did not look good in the ring for years, and last night she looked terrible. She did not look like championship material. Then putting on the belts on the two of them was like momentary. Like, you could tell there's only two things I can come up with. One, they're trying to make a bigger name for whatever tag match is coming into it, and that's why you're putting Lita and Trish into getting involved. Or two, they really needed to get that belt off of Dakota for her injury. Because again, this is the first time that Dakota had a match since her injury at the Rumble. And they even mentioned that on commentary. There's a possibility that maybe Dakota's injury is still lingering and that she couldn't defend those titles at Mania, so they had to get the belts off of them. That's the only other thing I can come up with.
Okay. Well, I think Trish should have been brought back a few weeks ago because we know she's been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully it was just a bad match from Lita. because
I'm
they're
telling you, dude, she looked rough. It did
they're giving
not
her.
look. It looked like when CM Punk was coming back in AEW, and it's just like all of it, he looked so rusty that like
Mhm.
it didn't look believable that he was getting these hits off.
Well, she's our new half of our women's tag champs, so she better figure it the fuck out.
Exactly. So,
And before we end, you skipped one note.
what's that?
Seth and Logan face off next week.
Oh yeah. So the follow up on the whole Miz TV thing is Seth comes out and it's just like, Miz, I need your help. I need you to get a hold of Logan for me. He's dodging me. Um and it just goes into this whole thing, and it's hilarious how they do it. They have Seth attack Miz, knock him out, takes his phone out of his pocket, uses his unconscious face to unlock his phone with Face ID, and FaceTimes Logan Paul. And it's just like, how about you stop ducking me and come to Raw next week and face me? And the pre-recorded Logan is obviously like, all right, let's do this. I like the sound of that. Let's go. So we're getting the push for Seth versus Logan. That's really all there is to say on that one. So, one last thing to do. We have to do predictions for Revolution this weekend. Now, granted, we're a little bit.
I haven't watched it over a year.
I mean, some of these are still like pretty big, easy picks. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up. Come on, where are you at? Let me get a. Hello, mouse. What are you doing? Stop.
You gonna write them down this time?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna write them down, but for some reason my computer is like screwing around with me, and like it's not letting me open Excel, and I don't know why. So, let me get a. What are you doing? Stop. Come on, work with me here. My computer loves to choose the most inopportune times to stop working for me. It's okay, we have more than one way to skin a cat. Alright, so. Insert rows. Two rows, rows, add some rows, because why the fuck not? Insert 10 rows above, there we go. Alright, so, our first match, let me get this up. We have, for the title, or you want to start from the bottom or you want to start from the top?
I start from wherever you're at.
All right, let's start from the bottom because again, we'll put the main event at the end. Where we'll start from the top of the card. So, first things first, I want to add a bonus pick to this.
Okay.
Because there's a 4-way tag team match for the tag team championships, as we know. One of those tag teams is still to be determined tomorrow night in a casino battle royal. For the first pick, who do we think is winning that battle royal and getting added to the tag division match?
I don't even know who's in.
Let's see.
Let me pull up. Here's a list of current AEW tag teams and stables. Who's in? Has they announced anybody for the battle royal?
Let's see. Dynamite Casino Battle Royal. Let's see if they have announced who's in this. It doesn't say. Well, at least this breakdown by Ringside News doesn't show. I don't
Well,
think
who are
they've
the three teams that are already in?
Say what? Okay,
Who
so
are
the
the
three
three
teams that are
teams
already in is the Acclaimed, the Guns, and then Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett.
All right. All right. Give me Claudio and Yuta.
Claudio and Yuta. All right. I like that. It's a good way to put them on the card. Where did I just put the prediction sheet? There we go. Copy. Paste. There we go. So we're gonna put fourth team added via Casino Battle Royal. You say Wheeler, you say Yuta and Classic Nolia, right?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I'm split between two right now. It's either gonna be Best Friends, or it's gonna be or what I really want to see is Dark Order. I want to see Sylvan Reynolds.
I was gonna say Best Friends because I love Trent, but
And they've been building. Well, they've also been building up like a feud there. I think between them and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. So maybe that's something there. But the smart money says that. My heart says the Dark Order.
all right. What are you going with?
I think I'm going with Dark Order. No, Best Friends.
Final answer?
Final answer is Best Friends.
All right.
All right, one more for tomorrow night that I want to add in, and this one actually does have the participants announced. Moved from the pay-per-view onto Dynamite this week is the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Now,
Okay.
here is who we have in that match right now. Let me pull that up. AEW Face of the Revolution ladder match. Here we go. So, here are the names that are... Oh, wait, here we go. Tag Team Casino Battle Royal for the final spot in the four-way tag team title match at AEW Revolution. Claudio and Wheeler are on that list.
Okay, perfect.
LIJ is on there. Or just Los Ingobernables. It's LFI is what they go by. That's right. Lucha Bros are in there. Top Flight's in there. Aussie Open. 2.0. Best Friends. Dark Order. And Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Wow. I didn't know they were in there.
All right.
Also, apparently, we're getting Orange Cassidy versus Big Bill tomorrow night, but we're not doing a prediction on that. So, Tomorrow night, Face of the Revolution ladder match, because technically this should have been on the show, but they're obviously moving it off to make room for the Iron Man match. Sammy Guevara, Action Andretti, Powerhouse Hobbs, Eddie Kingston, AR Fox, Takeshita, Ortiz, and debuting from AAA, Commander.
Me Takeshita.
I like that pick. I'm going to say Andretti.
Okay.
I'm going to say Andretti. I don't know. I'm feeling Andretti. Match. I'm going to go Andretti, and you are going Takeshita. All right, now for the actual pay-per-view matches. Six-man tag match. All right, six-man titles match. Where'd it go? The Elite versus the House of Black. Apparently that match has been made official.
House of Black.
I also take the House of Black. It just makes sense.
Yep.
And we'll copy you, paste you. All right. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya versus Ruby Soho.
I know you're going to pick Soho.
Do you?
You make this pick first, because if you don't pick Soho, I want Soho.
I want Saraya.
Okay, then I'll take Ruby.
Also, your camera froze, and I don't know why. There we go. Now you're back. I don't know why your camera froze there for a moment, but... All right. So, I'm taking Saraya. I don't know. I'm just feeling like they're going to swerve us on there. I think Soho's going to end up taking the pin for Saraya so they can keep Jamie strong.
That's fair.
Jericho versus Ricky Starks.
Starks.
I
We'll
say
talk about
Starks
it
as
later.
well. I think this is
Yeah.
Starks' moment to finally get
Yeah.
done with this feud. It needs to end already.
And I wanted to say it earlier. Jericho doesn't ever need to win another match, and he's still credible.
Yeah, he's at this point he's in that point of his career where he can just continue to put people over.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship. You going Joe?
Always.
I like Joe to win this one too. Not gonna lie, I want to see Wardlow win it, but I think Joe right now is just too much of a monster heel. You can really do, and there's a lot of faces in that division that you can really work with. Moxley versus Page, Texas Death Match.
Ox.
Page. I think Page takes that.
Who bleeds first?
Mox.
Who bleeds more?
Oh, Mox. All right. The four-way tag team match, as we mentioned, the Guns, the Acclaimed, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and then your chosen winner.
Give me the Acclaimed.
Oh, wait, that's you. I think the Guns will retain.
Okay.
I think it's a swerve. Their reign is still to come. I think they're on some chicken shit heel type shit right now.
I was torn between the Acclaimed and the Guns, so
Yeah.
I could see that.
And then our main event, MJF versus Bryan Danielson, 60-minute man Iron Man match.
I don't think MJF's dropping the title yet, man.
Neither do I.
I think it'd be a hell of a match.
I agree. All right, and of course, it's not picks with us unless we do our called shot.
You go first. Let me think about this.
I'm thinking too. I got to
Okay.
think about my called shot. Like I want to take. I know what my called shot is because it's something I said earlier. Never mind. My called shot. Someone else other than the Jericho Appreciation Society gets involved in Jericho versus Starks.
Okay. I'm gonna steal one from you. I'm gonna steal one from you also.
What's up?
Hater does not get the pin. Is not the one who's pinned. I know it's vague, but I gotta keep it vague because I don't follow the show like that.
No, that's fine. I like that. That's a solid pick. Hater not taking the pin in that match.
Yes.
That it's either Ruby pinning Saraya or Saraya pinning Ruby.
Yes.
That's a solid pick. All right, and that actually does it for us. We've covered everything. Let's see how these picks turn out. Hopefully, we actually crown a champion this week.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it for us this week. I don't know why I just had like a bug bite or something on my leg that came out of nowhere. Don't tell me the mosquitoes are already out. It's not even March yet. Thanks again for everybody coming out. This has been fun. Glad we got to do it. As always. As always, leave us a like, follow, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Drop a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us some stuff to talk about. We're starting to get into a dead season. Once Wrestlemania season's over and the draft is over, we're gonna have very little to talk about.
Yeah. May, June, and July are gonna be a little difficult.
No, the summer usually heats up, especially because we're gonna be having all the stuff that's going on around. Usually it's like April to May is like the dead zone.
Yeah.
Like from Mania to the draft is gonna be just so much like, what are we even gonna talk about?
Those 3 weeks are gonna be.
It's gonna be
quiet.
hell. But we'll get there. Again, thanks for everybody coming out. That's gonna do it for us this week. As always, if you haven't done it already, join the Discord. Let's go ahead and leave a Discord here in the chat as well, in case anybody's not in there. We talk about all this stuff. Leave your notes. We talk about all this stuff all the time. We're leaving all the news that is breaking. There's also, of course, always other stuff going on in there. I promote all the music that I find every day. Any new releases that come out. We're doing movie nights soon. We do watch-alongs with a lot of the pay-per-views. Premium live events, whatever you want to call them. Come on out. Come hang out. It's a great time. Also, I did the Discord link and it didn't actually pop up with the link. I don't know why. Who knows? I guess Stream Elements is just fucking around. Stream Elements isn't in chat right now. Nice. That's always convenient. Well, the link's down below. You'll find it. As always, we'll be back this time, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Till then, keep blazing, stay amazing. Y'all take it easy. We'll see you later.
Peace.